A word to the wise. We are an explicit podcast tackling content with adult themes,
as well as entering spoiler territory if you aren't caught up with us.
Which is through chapter 31
Yes, sir.
of Jade City by Fonda Lee.
Hey there, this is Cross.
I'm PJ.
I'm Ben.
I'm Aaron.
Yo, it is Thomas. And when we get together, we form Words and Whiskey, a podcast for veteran and novice readers alike. We tackle fiction novels and love to talk about what we're drinking. You should think of us as your intoxicating weekly book club.
Never have I ever felt so robbed of the only thing that I've done every single episode.
So,
like, there are moments that I haven't said, hey there, this is Cross, because instead PJ has and just, like, cut me off on the whole thing. But, like, I've never had that taken from me. So I have nothing left.
You can jump
We
in.
don't
I
need
just
you.
wanted
Get
to
out
do
here.
I wanted to do
Why
it
are
when
you
we
here?
come together because it felt like we were missing that. But
Voltronish.
yes, exactly. Voltronish.
Editing
Thank you.
while live. This is a big week, guys. I didn't like where we ended.
Did you not?
I was
Wow,
not
that's
happy
crazy.
about it.
Cross and
Oh,
I
was
man.
upsetting.
were waiting
It was quite
for you guys
upsetting.
to come curse us out. We were expecting it.
We truly were. We were pushing for it all week.
I text Cross on the side and I'm like, fuck you, or whatever. But this week I was just like, oh man. I was like, I don't even want to acknowledge.
I was just frustrated.
I see why you do
think
this,
we're
Cross.
fine. I think we're okay.
Yeah, it's
This is
so
fun.
good. It's so much fun.
I thought you were mean
once
for
you
years.
hit these
and now
points,
it's
you're like,
just-
ooh. Now it's like,
It's addicting.
You get the, yeah. So, of course, today is our 4th episode, and we'll be chatting about chapters 26 through 31 in Fonda Lee's Jade City, in case you didn't get that on top. But before we do that, I would love to talk about what we're drinking, and I'll go last since I've got the featured cocktail. If you guys want to just do a quick rundown, we'll start with PJ.
I'm drinking the only thing that Lon is craving. A very nice, big glass of water.
He's craving water.
That was good.
No, I didn't make a cocktail today, but I did bring a beer, The Legend Returns, in collaboration with Horace. I can't remember if I had that on last week's episode.
Did you say collaboration
You had a
of
Horace beer,
whores?
but not a...
Yeah, so it would have been this. It would have been the same thing. So, same beer I had last week, apparently.
I
I
remember
heard
absinthe and milk.
collaboration of whores.
PJ, you have to address the collaboration of whores bit, which is
the
not
collaboration of Horace?
Is he saying whores?
Horace.
Horus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
It's like
didn't
a
know
murder
if this
of
was
crows.
about,
No, there a bunch of whores get together and they brew beer collaboratively.
great.
God
It's
bless them.
wonderful. Delicious.
Musky.
Jesus.
We need an out-of-pocket button.
Aaron, for that, you get to go next. What are you drinking?
Ben, what are we drinking?
We are drinking Hefe, the Killer.
Hefeweizen.
It's a Hefeweizen beer from the Big Rip Brewing Company out of North Kansas City. It's quite lovely.
Very nice.
On the can looks like
A character.
there's like a man in shadow.
And he's got like
With
a
a
trench
trench
coat
coat.
with a collar up. He's apparently Hefe the Killer.
Ooh.
Mhm.
So maybe
Terrifying.
that's Barrow.
He's giving me Barrow vibes.
Not that we support that.
He doesn't have as big of a machine gun.
True.
Tom Tom?
All right, but kick.
Don't love that. Don't
Dummy.
love that. No, shucks, I'm gonna leave. Come back in. I accidentally invented a cocktail, and so I will just say it's a bourbon-based that I will use as my next featured cocktail.
So I want to make sure
nice.
no one's drinking like
Secretive.
separated viscous.
Fluid.
Mine's very pretty. It's pink. It kind of
Ooh,
mixed
okay.
nicely, but
Yes, they both look much nicer this week.
Yeah, I'm not trying to drink some absolute sludge, of which I literally can't remember. People were asking me what it was made of, and I was like, I tried to forget as quickly as I possibly could. I will never make that again.
You might, though, because you don't remember.
God damn it. No, don't put that evil on me. Can't do that.
What are you drinking?
Cool. All right. I am having what I'm dubbing the Lunch in One special. You'll be able to check it out on our website and on Instagram. What it is it is 1.5 ounces of dry sake. Specifically, it's a Jinjo sake. Bride of the Fox is the brand
No free ads.
that I'm using. 1.5 ounces of aged rum, half an ounce of lemon juice, half an ounce of ginger simple syrup, and 1/10 of an ounce, just a splash of green chartreuse. And it is the best cocktail I have ever made,
Jade
invented
green?
and otherwise. This is the tastiest thing that I've ever done.
Sounds delicious.
I'm keeping the recipe. I'm making this many times. It is so fucking good. And we're calling it the Lunch in One special for our dead boy, Rip.
What's what? What?
Our dead boy,
Dead-
Rip. Our
what?
drowned boy.
I
What?
don't think he's dead.
I mean,
He fell in the water last
Dion's
I heard.
did he? I don't know.
What's it taste like?
It was the flavor profile.
So it's got it's so interesting. So obviously, like the lemon and ginger play really nicely together, and it's very warm, almost Christmas spicy. And then like you get those really dry notes that like suck the tongue dry. It's just amazing. I actually am genuinely like, just go buy the stuff and make it, and you'll be impressed.
The
It's-
ice cube, or is it actually warm?
No, it's just shaken. So it's a dry shaken drink. The sake, or not dry shaken, it's a wet shaken drink. So you throw ice cubes in, you shake it to incorporate it all. And then I also garnished it with a lemon peel, which was originally on the edge of the glass. And then I tucked it in for the extra oil.
Nice.
As far as the
lovely.
rum goes, do you see this working well with any other spirit, or do you think rum is the right way to go with it?
So I chose to go rum because I had seen so many sake drinks that had every other spirit in them and didn't use rum that often. So I got intrigued into the idea of building something that did use rum. So I've been playing around with a couple of things, and I just kind of played right into this ratio and loved it. You could absolutely make other cocktails. It just becomes it becomes more delicate. And what I really like about this is that the sake and the rum play at like direct opposite ends of the flavor spectrum in some ways, where it's like the rum is this really deep, complex, spicy thing. And then you've got kind of a fruity, long, dry sake on the other side. So
Nice.
Yep.
Making me thirsty.
Love it. I tried it with lime juice instead of lemon. Also recommend the lemon, and that splash of green chartreuse just to bring out all the herbs is so good.
I wish it was green. Let's start incorporating green food dye into all of our drinks.
That's why I wanted it to be lime, but it didn't work. So
Aw. Limes are
Process
only
it a-
green on the outside.
Is it a dark or a white rum?
true. It's a dark rum. It's an aged rum.
Okay.
This is the most interested we've ever been in a drink before. But you said it was the
He
best
said
ever.
it was good. Yeah, it's
It's the best cocktail I've made in a long fucking time. And the best, yeah, I genuinely think it's the best thing I've ever made. Custom crafted on the show.
Damn, we gotta try it. I'm not
So-
usually a huge fan of sake, but maybe if it's mixed up with all that good juice.
Sake's good.
Sake.
My original ratio too, I actually boozed it up. It was originally 1 half tenth. So like I did actually add another half ounce of each just to pull the spirits forward more. I actually liked it as well with less. So depending on what you like in it, if you want to make it a little bit weaker, you can. I think the ratio works really well there. It's just even kind of warmer spices in your mouth then at the lower ratio, more ginger. So yeah. Anyway,
Yum.
that's my cocktail nerd. Yeah. So we already talked about this a little bit, but I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts were on this week's reading on the whole. What'd you guys think?
Well, I don't like the way that Lon is headed. I think Shay is finally getting what was coming. I know you guys think I'm so mean, but it was interesting to see like all the politicizing at the beginning that's going on, and how, you know, the whole island is prepping for war, and it's not just the two big clans, it's, you know, all the little people too. I don't feel great.
I was enraptured reading this week. It felt fast and action packed. Not convinced that Lon's dead. I don't know. I'm expecting him to crawl out of that water at some point, but we'll find out.
Yeah, what the fuck, Cross? You said he was dead. No one ever said that before.
You know, it's just so fun. It's like putting that on you, you know? Putting that into your brain. Make you deal with it. Make you reckon with it a little
I
bit.
don't like that.
Yeah, this was a tough set of chapters. You know, it was just Lon's doing shine. Like, we got Barrows scheming, machine gunning, Lon
Machine gun barrel.
just falling apart. Like, we're really having a tough time with this Jade. And it makes me...
And he's like, it's not poison. That's a myth. I'm like, fuck you. Take it off.
Seems like we were onto something maybe with some poison Jade.
And, I mean, also, I just remembered, like, we meet the mother. So it's like we got racist Gramps. And then we have, like, a sexist mom.
There was a lot of sad stuff going on.
It's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
These old people need to go.
The visit to mom was pretty tough.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't enjoy that.
You know, it makes you be like, okay, these 3 kids turned out pretty good for...
Yeah, we're starting to explain a lot here.
Like, I shouldn't be as harsh on them.
That chapter is rich. I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm. I am stoked. All right, so the thing that I want to do before we talk about the chapters, though, is, Aaron, you do have to pay off a bet from last week where you owe me a drink.
I didn't puke this week, so I'm drinking.
And then I think that we have one other bet to pay off here as well, which is who is Khan and who is he working for? And we know the answers that we put down, so we'll run through those in a second. But cheers, Aaron.
Cheers.
On your drink.
Here, we got a clink.
Oh, you need somebody to clink with?
Clink.
I'm not drinking.
I know.
Not yet.
Did you hear that?
I'm just kidding. You don't drink for the other one. All right.
Pretty
And then
sure.
the who is Khan working for? PJ put down the mountain via proxy with Doru. Aaron put down Doru schemes with the missing Jade. And Ben put down Hilo.
Last
so
second switch.
everyone but Ben drinks.
Congrats. Congrats, Ben.
You're
Do
welcome.
I drink?
Yeah, we drink because Ben got it right.
Oh, good job, Ben.
Mazel, Ben.
Mazel Ben. So, good work. Good work.
I'm going to need a new beer now.
All right.
Were we not chugging?
I mean,
I think it was just
It's Thursday.
directions were a drink. But
true.
yeah, if you-
Thursday.
There you go.
I've only drank every night this
That's
week.
what I'm
No,
off tomorrow,
not Monday.
Those are things that you don't
how
admit
lucky you.
on a podcast.
I work from
You
home
do admit
tomorrow,
that,
so I don't have to look alive.
function.
Well, congrats for getting me on 2, Cross. Won't happen
You
again.
got yourself. Do you understand?
Won't happen again.
Whoa.
It's going to happen again.
Okay. Yeah.
You played yourself. I'm just kidding. Cool. All right. Well, if you do want to reload, we have a second before we go into the chapters.
No, I'm good.
So,
I also have water here.
okay, cool.
See,
All right.
PJ, I'm also responsible.
Well done.
Thank you. Thomas
I have
just pulled out a
5
full
receptacles in front of me.
Brita filter.
I get thirsty. I don't know what to tell y'all.
Comparatively, that's great. All right. With that, let's get into our chapters here. We start with chapter 26, War Maneuvers. After assuaging Lantern Men fears, Lon sends Doro to Egoton. After Doro is on the plane, Lon calls for an emergency meeting with Chancellor Son tomorrow and the other members of the Royal Council of KCON to discuss an immediate pause on anything related or passing through the KJA. Hilo's actions as the Horn are also called into question by a number of members of the council. What do we make of this whole kind of political maneuvering scene of getting Doru out of the picture and even the initial call with the Lantern Men right off the bat?
So I'm currently sorry, I keep talking first.
That's fine.
You can.
So I've been watching Parks and Rec for the 10th time or whatever. And I think because of that, this reminded me of like City Hall. What's that called?
Town hall.
Yeah.
Or
Town Hall. Thank
yeah.
you. Where like the, members of the town come and yell at Leslie Nope. So the Lantern Men reminded me of that.
me too, for the same reason.
That makes sense.
Nice.
To me, it felt more akin to like a small council meeting. and I'm sure it was bigger than it is in my head. But what I was comparing it to and thinking of in the moment was what was the name of the assembly in Red Rising?
Like the War Council? Oh, with
no, not
or
quite.
the full Senate.
The Senate.
No spoilers.
But
yeah,
not the full one. I think there's a like small like conference room meeting that goes on with a bunch of senators or something. I can't remember exactly how it goes on.
There's a couple of those like small table meetings. I understand what you're getting at.
That's,
even like Game of Thrones and a small council, I think, is a great.
Yeah.
You know,
do we know how many
my head went,
lantern
but I
men?
know it was bigger than that.
I think it was a couple dozen. A dozen lantern men. Yeah.
Okay.
The big
PJ,
boys.
is that because you were interpreting them as like trusted lantern men, or just how you were kind of wrapping your head around things?
I genuinely couldn't tell you where my mind was at when I like conjured that image. Really, I think the biggest thing was just the way Lon addresses them and the actual conversation that goes on. That sort of leadership position and making decisions for the group in this council sort of setting where none of the councilmen actually have a say in the matter. That's sort of where the vibe felt parallel to me.
This was like the last time where I was like, oh, Lon's got this. Like, he's going to be able to handle this and work through this Jade situation.
Even when he like has to lean into wound.
Yeah. Well, I was just like, I think he can handle this. Like, I think he can make it out on the other side. And then after that, I was just like, no, he's not. But this was the last point where I was like, okay, I think that he can kind of like, he's got a lot going on right now, but I feel like he's stepping up in the moment and being the pillar that he needs to be. And then he's like making really good plans. He's got a plan to get rid of Doryu, basically. And then he's going to replace him with Woon Papi Danwa.
He also like stands up when they're like, what about Hilo?
Yeah.
He's like, he reports to me.
Yeah. And then, so this is like where I was like, okay, maybe he's still in control. And it's definitely, he's still feeling like bad, obviously. But I thought like, okay, I feel like he's going to be okay. But that was quickly, I was wrong. I was very wrong.
Yeah. It's unfortunate by the end of this week what all is going on with Lon in a big way, all stemming from these. For the record, in the original breakdown, this was week 2. So there was we were covering up until this point in 2 weeks worth, but we gave this one a little extra time because we're like, we want you to, sit with the characters more. But anyway, I really think that I love the moment where Lon stands up and he's like the master of the room, right? And where like he does call people down, and it happens not once but twice this week. And you can kind of see, I think one of the things that I really appreciate about this section is that we start in that green corridor and then we go to the gold, right? And so we've got our Jade and our gold as these two separate groups and addressing, and there is shared power there that the pillar has among both parties still regardless. So we're definitely mixing that up.
Jade and gold. You're not supposed to mix this.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what they tell me.
Which one would you say is Jade? The Lantern Men? Who are named because they...
Yeah, the initial Lantern Men?
Yeah, but they're so named for giving money to the clan.
No, right. But I mean, it's like immediate clan business and then political business, right? So that's the Jade business. And then this is the political function.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's how I saw it, at least.
Good thing Woon Papi Danwa was there.
Woon Papi Danwa, always saving the day.
He's a special
Our boy. Our
All
king.
right.
Since we're talking about the KJA and we've moved into that part of the speech, obviously we've got that going on here. I think the way that I've thought about it in my own head is that like Lon is pushing for balance in this moment and pushing for, no peak and kind of there, but he himself is completely off balance and is beginning to lose it.
Yeah, he's like feeling the vibes on the street.
Yeah, that was crazy where he's like starting to feel the whole building,
Yeah.
That was...
Yeah. It It reminded me of something, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
I was just about to say the exact same thing. What is it?
Spidey sense?
I know
It's
exactly.
more
what it
than
is.
that. Say it, Thomas.
Wow. Okay.
X-Men, isn't it? It's like Patrick Stewart type vibes.
Oh, like, yeah.
Like Professor X, like hearing all the voices. That's kind of where I'm
Not
at
Professor
with
I
X,
think it's-
Patrick Stewart himself.
Thank you, PJ. Thank you.
Not James McAvoy. Could not be. Could
Whoa,
not be.
hey,
Ooh.
hey, it could be. It could be McAvoy. Relax.
It could be
Relax.
James
It could be McAvoy.
Apologize.
It's probably James McAvoy.
Issue a formal apology. I want to see it on
Who's-
Instagram on Friday.
I'll
Who's
write
the
it.
redhead
It'll be on Instagram.
Falcon
That's Friday.
lady?
What? An X-Men?
It's Jean Grey?
Jean Grey.
Yeah,
Oh.
Dark Phoenix.
It's Jean Grey vibes.
Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix. I was
Phoenix.
like Falcon. I was like, what?
I was gonna say it was like Macho Man Randy Savage when he's like on balance, off balance. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's not what it was, Thomas.
I think it was for
That's
Ben.
not what I was
think it
thinking
was
of.
for Ben.
I like that.
It was like, what's that movie where they're like enhancing their brains with a drug?
Limitless?
Yeah, it was kind of like that, where like they walk outside and it was like, whoa,
Thomas knows about that.
like they could like
I do
feel
know about that.
everything.
You're so right, Aaron. It's just very funny that this came up 2 weeks in a row.
What?
Bradley,
It came up
Bradley
last
Cooper,
week?
come on.
Thomas was limitless last week when he was.
Last week I was.
Oh.
like,
Yeah. With the edible. Yeah.
that's what I need to
I
make.
don't
Thomas will
remember
feel like
things, guys.
And you weren't even drinking, which is, and even,
That is the
you
funny
know,
part.
I was low on calories for the day. Yeah, I guess I need to go
You
back
did.
and watch Limitless
it's a good movie.
and all of Sandra
It's
Bullock's
a TV
movies.
series now too. I think
It
you
was.
can get a full.
I think they
bill.
tried to make it a TV series and it flopped. But
Yeah,
Fucking
I doubt
Bradley
that's good.
Cooper was in the TV series for a few not like he kept coming back for a few episodes just for like a one-off scene, but like what the hell?
I like Bradley Cooper.
Mhm.
I love Bradley Cooper.
Me too. It's just weird that he was there and then
Yes,
gone.
on
and
like
then
a
there.
Fox
Yeah.
show at the peak of his powers.
Of his powers.
Peak of his powers.
Anyway,
Reached
I
the
have,
peak.
I know. I have two serious points about this chapter. One, this shows another interesting bit about how we've seen hints before of common people don't understand Jade at all. There's the exchange where Lon says it's easy to fool Jadeless council people, I think, or Jadeless business people. And then there's, actually, I'll let you guys speak on that if you have anything to say.
Well, my take on that is that putting up a facade and hiding your emotions physically is good enough usually to fool anybody that doesn't have Jade. But anybody that does can kind of read your emotions through that sort of stoic face.
Mhm.
So that's where I took that, I guess.
And then
Yeah, I
in
would
a-
say it's like you got that perception,
Right.
enhanced perception.
And in a similar vein, we learn a bit about Cantonese culture with the exchange about having to defend No Peak. How, like, at the end, it was like the council people wanted to look out for their constituents, basically, but they wouldn't respect Lon if he wasn't willing to fight for the clan.
Right. Like he has to be seen wearing the Jade, fighting for the clan.
The more I read about Janloon and all this stuff, there's just like this whole place is like contradictions on contradictions. Like,
Well, and we hear about that in the chapter with the mom.
right. And like last week, we learned about it with like Andon's sexuality and Stone Eyes, and Shay's like entire story is like dealing with this contradiction the whole time. And I just feel like it's like ingrained in the culture. And it's like this again, there shows up, there's this contradiction of they're asking for peace, but they wouldn't respect him if he didn't go to war or wasn't able to commit violence. So it's just, it's a city.
I would have lived in
country.
peace,
Yeah.
but my enemies brought me war.
It's not a spoiler. It's the first words.
That's a Red Rising quote for those of you
Yeah.
who somehow have not yet read it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that there's a lot of culture in this, and that contradiction, hypocrisy is almost at the center of it in a lot of ways of kind of like living and breathing in with your feet in two completely different camps because that's the expectation of you. And I think that that's so that's so upsetting for Lon in particular, because like Lon literally, if he didn't have to be this, he would not be this.
Right.
It feels very clear at this point, but he chooses to because he has to.
Or he
Yeah.
thinks he has to.
Right. There's the other side of this too that I just love, the extra culture bits of like signaling in for like tea to come to the table and like doing all of the other sort of formal dining things that we get here. It's a small touch and a small flourish on the whole scene, but I like that quite a bit in these moments.
Also, where
No.
are all the women, lantern women? I just wanted to point that out.
There are several council
Great
women
question.
pointed out.
It's true.
They're not
Called
called.
lantern men for a reason, Aaron.
Gosh darn it.
Stay in your lane.
Oh no.
The lantern is the penis.
Yeah, took a left turn.
Peter just jumped off the cliff.
PJ, have you started drinking that beer? The horrors beer?
In honor of Aaron.
What
Cut weird.
Did that stay in, by the way?
It stayed.
Cut
Every time Aaron makes a cut joke, I'm just like, yeah, all right, that stays.
Stay cut, KK.
Yeah.
I was just
So to get the stay cut.
I was just trying to figure out if I had to pull off a Tucker Carlson impression, and then PJ was just like, head first, let's make things nuts. I love it.
No, it was the penis. It was the dick, not the balls. Okay, with that, chapter 27.
Sorry, Charles, I have one last thing to point out in this chapter. It's just a little silly thing near and dear to my heart.
Yep.
Fonda once again
I tried so hard.
killing my boy San Tomorrow. Fat hand, heavy elbows. Let my guy live. The food started to take on. Let him eat. What's up with it?
Yeah, we get fat hands, heavy elbows here, and then we get mannish hands out of
Yeah, for
Shay and her mom.
Yeah, that just reminded me of Seinfeld. Man hands.
That's some Tarantino level focus, you know? That's some like, we're very clearly displaying these hands and feet.
And my guy San just being fat. Tough.
Live your life,
Tough.
son.
I've never heard elbows described as heavy, other than like heavy blows from an elbow or something.
I bet they're heavy.
So was that a commentary on the physicality of the elbows, or was that more of like a propensity to like lean on your elbows and like lounge around?
I think he's got
Oh, I
fat
think
ass
it's-
elbows.
I had it in my.
Leaned his heavy elbows. Yeah. The Chancellor leaned his heavy elbows. I would have loved it the other way, but it is, in fact. No, they're just thick.
Dimpled.
God damn. Thick. All right. Now, if there are no objections, 27 is on the table. Chapter
Already?
I tried so hard to transition out without like getting rid of the dick and balls joke. I failed so
Sorry,
hard.
you cut out for
So
me,
not
so
gracefully.
I couldn't really hear your
Oh,
beautiful
You did
segue.
cut
I might
out.
have
So
hit
bad.
it.
When you said penis, it cut out, which
Yeah.
is funny.
Oh, that's amazing.
I was
Until
like, I
you
think
said
he
20
said
on the recording.
penis.
Maybe Ben Shapiro had this, and it was like P word. Anyway,
Perfect. It'll be gone.
Chapter 27, Mistakes Revealed. Shay pays a visit to her mother in the small Chetanese town of Marenia. Returning home, she discovers her neighbor Khan has been following her on orders from Hilo via Lan, prompting Shay and Hilo to have it out. Like I touched on when we were discussing these chapters, just incredibly rich with all manners of just like interesting things. I can't wait to hear you guys dissect.
I
Yeah.
love the verbal fight scene of this chapter. Like they're all verbal fight scenes.
I would say this like situation between Shay and Hilo and that conversation actually kind of brought me more towards Aaron's side, where I was like, Jade probably does need to go ahead and make a decision here at some point.
Can't keep fucking around, Shay. Let's start at the beginning, though, with the mother.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
'Cause there's
should
a
go
lot
back
of-
to the beginning. I agree.
There's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Like where Marinia's on the island and there's just like Greenbone free little town little town, it's a quiet village. That's
Wow.
where she's at. And it reminded me again of my study abroad in China. We went to these like small remote towns where like IMPei had built like a big museum or something, but like it'd be like out in the middle of nowhere. And it was like we were a big group of students and everyone would like stop what they were doing and stare at us. I feel like Shay probably like, or a Greenbone in that town would have that experience because she mentioned like being able to, you know, kind of be herself without her Jade because there's no Greenbones around. I don't know. It felt very nice and peaceful. And then her mom was a total sexist. Like, oh, you shouldn't work so hard. I don't like you wearing all that Jade or working hard because you're a woman.
Mom was a trip. For sure. She just made me sad.
Yeah. And like, she's like out in this town and her kids don't visit her.
I know. It's like, and she really kind of doesn't care that much.
Her husband died being a Greenbone, so she's just like, these boys keep getting in fights.
And she was just like very detached from that.
She's really on a bunch of Zanny. She's a Zanny mom.
Seem just, yeah. Like,
so, does the mom not have Greenbone powers?
She does not, and there is a very interesting part that I was wondering if it stuck out to anybody else. If not, I can hop in with my little read on it.
enlighten.
Hold on.
I want to clarify.
No, don't yet.
Okay,
I have it.
all right.
Sorry, I was waiting to see if they had something to say on it.
That's okay.
Because there's a very interesting wrinkle to it that I want to tease if nobody else has anything on. Sorry. So,
Hit me with it.
okay. So, Ben, you mentioned that you thought that whole she made you sad, right?
You did.
261 of Kindles. And I'll read the quote. Shay found Marinia charming, but her mother's company depressing. Call Wan Ria was like a piece of
Agreed.
artwork or furniture that blended in with the rest of the house and went unnoticed. Before she'd been married off, she'd received a basic education and enough martial training to be able to tolerate jade contact, but not enough to actually wear or use it. After her husband's death, she deferred to her father-in-law and later to her eldest son. If she begrudged her place, it never showed. So that was, I think, Cross, that's what you wanted to clarify, right?
Totally. Yeah, no, you got me.
And so the reason I wanted to hold off.
Tolerate jade contact, meaning she is not.
She can hang with the
She's not an
jades.
abuke.
Yeah.
Right. So they trained her enough so that she could be in close contact, close proximity to her future husband, perhaps. So I was trying to think, like, what would be the reasons that they trained her to be able to tolerate it but not use it? And just it just felt very telling of where society for them was at that point in their culture.
Yeah, it just makes me feel like she was like just there for breeding, which is
like
a
almost
gross thing to say. Like
Sex slave, mom slave.
It
and
the
the
felt
way that
very
how
like
she
married off to me.
Yes, yeah, like how detached she is, and then she just seems like she got used and then like stuck away in the cupboard and never used again, and that made me feel really bad.
She's a piece of furniture.
She reads as this old woman with like this shrill voice that's like wagging a finger like, the boys are always very busy. Lon comes to visit me sometimes. Hilo only wants to show me his girlfriend. And like you could just imagine like the wagging finger and the tea pouring, and I get a whole visual image.
I pictured her with like a quarter of that energy at most. Like just very
sure,
sad,
yeah, I'm definitely exaggerating.
I pictured
but,
her way
like,
subdued for
like
me.
Xanaxed out.
Yeah, I imagined her like very sleepy, like not connected to reality.
Well, they even say like when Shay gets there, she's like, "Oh, hey, honey," like as if like the 2 years she
Kinda
was
saw
gone
her
didn't
as-
like an airhead almost.
she
Yeah,
kind of sees the world through this like fog of like
Xanax.
yeah, I mean similar vibes. For
No
sure.
free ads.
Nice.
No free ads. What's
Beta
the
Pharma can suck
the generic Xanax?
I don't know. I'm going to
There's gotta
figure
be
it
a
out though.
generic
No free
name
ads.
for it.
Alprazolam. Alprazolam.
Nope.
Alprazolam.
names.
Wait, do you need some?
Yes,
Cross?
that's it. Apparently.
Cross is having a stroke.
Aprazolam. Yeah. Alprazolam. Yep.
Doesn't
But
really
that-
roll off the tongue.
No.
That exchange I highlighted, and then that conversation we had. That's why I was so excited to talk about that chapter, because there's just like, it's said so plainly, but it's so rich and depressing and revealing.
Damn. And it's like Shay not using her Jade. It's like, do you want to like not be like your mother? But I mean, I don't know.
It is almost like a
Do you want to be seen like your mother?
Right.
Like, that's kind of the connotation.
Pull on it, Cross. Keep going.
No, that's all. I was just like, that's like the connotation of that is like, you want to be seen like your mother because is that why you were sent here to begin with? Of like, go visit mom by Lon. Was this maybe a little bit of a guilt trip?
Yeah.
Was there any element to that to it?
see what your future
That's
could be.
interesting. If that's the case, that's super fucked for Lon to do.
I think Lon
Isn't it-
also like loves his mother and Hilo also loves the family and Andon. I think Hilo and Lon are both wanting Shay to like come back in and be more, a part of the family.
But it's another
I don't know that
contradiction.
it's manipulative.
Yeah. I would agree with you, Ben, that like and Aaron, I would agree that it's like not necessarily, I don't mean it as like something that's fully manipulative, but as like a get your foot out of both swamps and pick, because like you could end up like this if that's the choice that you're going to make.
Later in this chapter, we do get I'm paraphrasing, but like nothing motivated Shay as much as not wanting to be like her mother. So could it be that Lon knew that? Could it be that Shay knew that and knew that was the kick in the pants she needed? And so encouraged by Lon, but set it up herself for that reason.
I bet lots of daughters feel the same.
Golly, if that was the case, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, okay. So later in this chapter, Hilo, when he explodes at Shay, says that she puts herself in the position of being a defenseless woman. Do you think when he says that, he's thinking of his mother or their mother?
I didn't think that when I read it, but
Neither. It's just now talking about it.
yeah.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me at the time.
I think it, to me, it was more like Hilo wants her to be safe and doesn't want, the mountain to like capture her and hold her hostage.
I don't even think they see mom as a defenseless woman. She's just like a non-entity. Like she's not
the sofa.
She has no value and in this family, and like she's just there and that's it. Like that's why it's so sad. Like she doesn't have a say. Everyone's just like, oh, let's go see mom and say hi, and she says some crazy shit, and then we'll just go home, and
this
then
is sad.
that's
and
it. Like,
sounds, I don't know, but I mean, it's kind of like when you go visit your grandparents in the nursing home. It's like, I guess we gotta.
There's nobody guarding her.
Go in there, and then it's like an hour goes by, and it's like the longest hour of your life, and you're like, all right, good to see you, Grandma.
Yeah.
Good luck in there.
Well, she doesn't have any bodyguards that are protecting her from the Mountain Clan, because she doesn't hold any importance.
So I think Hilo just knows how powerful Shay could be, and he doesn't understand how you would live defenseless when you could be like a kick-ass superhero,
Yeah, that's perfectly said, Aaron.
Yeah, I feel like he's more thinking of when, and the fact that she's a stone eye and literally doesn't have the opportunity to utilize Jade, but is still at this point in the same position as Shay is in his eyes.
I like that, Reed.
I don't think it's necessarily the right way to look at it, but I think that's the way Hilo is looking at it.
And they're siblings. Like, it doesn't have to be logical.
That's true, too.
There's a lot of feelings there. There's a lot of misunderstandings back and forth on both sides. and like Shay wants to like kick Hilo's ass and realizes like that wouldn't go well, so she backs off. But it's like, I mean, anyone with a sibling like
Yeah, I mean,
can relate, you know.
they're both cutting without weapons. Like, it's all words, but
Yeah.
they're both taking cuts at each other for sure in different ways.
Did we move to the apartment? Was that the plan? Was that the thing? Were we there?
I think we're there.
We arrived?
We did skip over Shay and the Espenians and that messy ordeal.
The Spinions? Oh my god! What the fuck?
Yeah,
Yes.
that was the thing that kind of made me feel like
Like
okay,
on my side.
Shay fucked
What
up.
the fuck? I was like, what are you? And she's supposed to be the smart one.
Yeah.
And then she's kind of
Yeah.
doing it again with Khan. It's like,
I
what?
know.
So this last boyfriend was like, oh, you are into the clan. Let's talk to all these people and sell your family
We gotta
secrets.
be better than that.
It's like I'm sorry, one cute face and you like lose all loyalty to your family. And then it's like starting to happen again with Khan. She's like, he's cute. Like, no, he's a fucking spy. We all see it. Man,
That
Shay.
was wild. Yeah, that made more sense.
I forgot that happened in this chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing that up though, I was surprised by like Turn. I was expecting there to be some genuine feelings, but as soon as he's called out, he's like, nope, I have zero actual emotional like investment in this. And it,
Well, he didn't want Hilo to
went
beat him up.
super cold, super fast.
That's interesting. It's not just cold though. He's kind of playing around still in the scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's kind of like, are you going to cut me? Like there's still some tension there.
And
I don't think it's entirely devoid of that.
Okay.
the should we go to your apartment
Some.
read very flirty to me too.
I think he's just scared of touching Hilo's sister, which he should be.
He like knew what he got, which is so funny. Like he was very aware that he actually had her attention in a very different way than he expected to. And I think he was kind of leaning into that a little bit with some of those lines, like the apartment line, like the other things. It's like, oh, I got you on the hook and I didn't even like that was not a part of the gig. I was not needing to, but you kind of like me and you're in the big important family. So, you know, I'll lean into it a little bit. But yeah, the Espenian thing is messed up. I do want to at the very least give Shay the smallest bit of credit for not just falling for a pretty face
Why?
though, because she did basically entirely distance herself from her family because of like Doru effectively and grandpa standing up for Doru. So
But
like
you still don't
there were
sell
other
them out.
reasons
I mean-
in addition to, well, right. I would
And-
agree. But like, I do want to give the smallest bit of
Again,
credit.
she's supposed to be the smart one. She should have realized why they were asking her these telling questions. I mean, like, it's so obvious.
I think she just never planned on going back. And then she had all the racial stuff happen where she couldn't apply for jobs and other things too. It's a complicated thing.
Two things. I think she got lured into the revealing before she knew she was going to Espenia. And it could have been that she thought that was a possibility. But also, we've been told that Call Do Academy, almost monastery, they're not supposed to have relationships there. There are a few, but they're very casual explicitly. We're also told that Shay was single-minded and didn't make friends. So it's not a huge leap to think, you know, from, I forget the exact age, but like 10 to 17, 18, no relationships, no romantic relationships going on for her. So this is like
She's not very
first time a
experienced.
handsome boy is interested in her. She's not very savvy. Could be, you know, maybe he was a more experienced spy, straight up a spy perhaps, you know, like sent in to pluck an asset. So I think we should give our
That's a
girl
good point.
a little credit. She was young. She was
A little. I'm saying 10%, 20%
Yeah,
credit.
she doesn't really
It's
like
just
the way
stupid.
they're asking some of those questions.
Yeah.
It's like
What?
you got to be a little better than
Yeah,
that.
what gift should I bring? What were the other ones?
well, that's just
They're
like a
asking about
cultural
like
thing, you know,
times,
it's,
like people
obvious.
show up to stuff.
Yeah,
and
when
stuff, like,
when are these important
Well, she was
political
also
figures in what
raised
location?
as like a princess too. So like she's just naive and thinks everything like it's common knowledge.
She
Yeah.
wasn't raised like a princess. She went to the fucking academy and she got
Oh,
her hands
right,
burned
but,
on
like,
bricks too.
She had the advanced, like higher level place in society her whole life. I meant so
Yeah.
like she knew and thought these things like this access that she had. She thought that was more commonplace than it was probably.
I don't know, just being trained by Doru, even though he's a creep, and her grandpa basically raising her. She should have had more like suspicion of other people, especially Aspinians. Isn't her grandpa the one who raised her to like be racist and suspicious of Aspinians? And she's like, no, they seem nice. I'll tell them all of the family secrets. Why not?
He was hot, Aaron.
Also,
No, that was like
Jared. His name is Jared, and he was hot.
he went to Jared. No,
Also,
when I heard
it's
that,
Jared,
I like
right?
threw my hands up. I was like, see, fucking idiot. Team
Also,
shame.
I was like, Aaron's gonna fucking make a whole thing out of this.
I forgot
I don't know
about
the exact
it, too.
timeline here, but I believe
Thomas brought it up.
that starts that's like the Doru revelation happens before the Jared thing, right? So she's already starting this disenchantment with her grandfather, his point of view, his racism, perhaps. So, she's already poised to rebel this way, too, a little bit. I just think if we look at it, there's a lot of factors going on that explain why our girl, usually very level-headed, very clear-seer, was led astray in this instance. The defense...
I think she got off lightly. I think she's lucky. Everyone's like, yeah, come back and hang out.
Listen, players fuck up sometimes.
Is that the defense? Oh my god.
Players fuck up sometimes. What do you want?
Better. I don't know. It's good. It's good.
You can't win Game 7 if you don't lose 3. I don't know what you want.
Oh, see, you say player, and I went to Jared being the player.
Oh, no.
not
Screw-
Not
game,
basketball
not a
players.
baller. Yeah, you
All
see,
my homies
you see, I was thinking
Jared.
Oh my God.
Fuck Jared.
We only have one our guy so far, and it is Moon Papidanwa. Everyone else suspect.
That's true.
Sorry to mom.
So
Hero.
back to the apartment.
Yes, sorry.
I would love to talk about Shay and Hilo's interaction. I know that we talked earlier about the blood or the blades like cutting at each other in these sharp words, but specifically the way that Hilo reacts, I think is a fantastic thing to dig into, especially since truly this wasn't his idea. This was Lon's request.
Yeah, I thought.
Do we get any
he was kinda
confirmation
spitting.
of that beyond this conversation?
Yeah, he asked it in a previous chapter back like in week 2.
Okay.
Hilo complained.
He said,
Gotcha.
why?
Right. Okay. Forgot about that.
Yeah, I came out of this like he was kind of making some good points.
Yeah, I'm more team Hilo. Hilo's moving up, Shay's moving down.
Lon.
Aw,
I can
Lon.
understand the rationale behind it from Lon's point of view, especially with these mounting like pressures.
I think
Shay,
someone
if
should fucking follow her around because she's doing stupid shit.
Yeah, I just think
Well,
like Khan was just
there's
bad
that,
at his
but-
job. I don't think it was like,
He should have decorated his apartment.
yeah.
even if Shay does nothing with the clan, she's a very high value target for ransom.
Yeah, especially after what happened to Andon.
And
Yeah.
Hilo.
So I can understand wanting to have a detail on her. I think doing it secretly was probably a mistake. I think she would have totally understood, given the circumstances, that like, hey, shit's going down. We can't have you just getting taken. We're going to have people watching you. And like in the area, in the vicinity, they're not going to invade your privacy, but they will be. I don't think she would have objected to that if Lon was
Lon
open
had
with
been
it.
more upfront and she like
I don't
didn't
know
even
about all that.
she didn't even know about Andon. She's kind of like finding stuff out in a weird.
I think she was
Order.
full on. I'm going to do this on my own.
Well, I do think if she knew about him or it was more upfront, like PJ's saying, then she would have tried to like lose him, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
like sneak away.
I think we should have just picked a different finger that wasn't as dumb as Khan.
Sure.
Although,
he was bad at his job.
And I think Hilo was like proud of Shay when he's like laughing on the phone because she's got a knife and she caught him. He's like, okay, like, you know, she's not just walking around totally blind,
Yeah,
even though she doesn't have Jade.
I mean, hypothetically, could he have been in Shay's class?
Khan?
Yeah.
I
think
think
he's
she says he's a
younger.
few years. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be
Like-
funny because there's all these like she didn't recognize Mate Ken versus Mate Tar. Like she trying to tell them apart. That would have been a nice little twist of like how out of touch she was with her roots. Maybe.
Yeah, if it was like just an unassuming middle of the pack student at the academy in her class, like that could have been a cool reveal. Ultimately, like I think it would have made more sense, or I think it could have gone down in a better way if Lon was willing to be open with her, or if instead of that they just sent somebody that she knew, so she was clued into like, okay, I'm being like protected. Maybe she would have taken it as I'm being watched, and that would have been
Been
messy,
followed.
but like fucking communication would have helped everything here.
Possibly.
It's tough because I think Lon's trying to respect those boundaries, though. At the same time, it's like
But he's not.
This is a last ditch. Well, this is a last ditch security thing because of the clan, right? But he's respecting every other boundary. But it's like this is for your safety in the backdrop.
Without telling her. That's the
Well,
part
yeah.
that gets fucky.
But she doesn't want to be told about anything relating to the clan. She's been very clear about that, which is
that
also
she's
why
working
she doesn't
for
get involved
actively
on
day in
Andon.
and day out.
That's that's
That's why she
Shay's
needs to
problem,
figure
you know?
her shit out.
Yeah.
Jump in the pool, baby.
Foot in, foot out.
I do agree. It's time for her to
Take the
figure some
plunge.
shit out.
Put your Jade on
She went to a church, went to the steeple. Hopefully, she gets some answers.
and finds the people.
No words from the people.
Some people.
We're cool.
Is there anything else on the apartment that's weighing on anyone?
No.
Okay. There is something I forgot to bring up at the front of the chapter that I think raises an interesting question I'd like to pose to the group. So on 261 in the audiobook.
Kindle,
Two-
you mean?
Kindle.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, PJ.
The visual audiobook.
Listen, I am limitless, so 2 years abroad had given her perspective on her home country that she doubted most green bones possessed. How do we think Shay is using green bones in that instance? She's using it to other herself? Is she thinking of herself as a green bone?
Can you become not a green bone anymore? I don't like I think that she graduated from the academy, and I think like regardless of if she's wearing Jade, she has that title. But I don't know the specifics of how the title works. Is it like a doctor? Like you graduate with your with your PhD, and
You're
even if
non-practicing?
you're not practicing anymore, you still have the title of doctor.
Well, she's very pointedly no longer Jen. She's no longer called Jen, which is sort of
But that's within the clan, right?
it is. It seems to be, from what we can tell, more prestigious green bones than just like a street level green bone. But we don't know if maybe like a random Tetanese citizen would say it to a finger, maybe.
Right.
I feel
Yeah.
like she's still a green bone, but that she is saying that I know, like she has a fresher and much different perspective than really any other green bone around. So to me, she read as like she considers herself a part of that group still, but standing away with a fresher and different perspective that none of them have.
That makes sense.
As a question, when Andon met with the Mountain Tribe and met with Aitmata, did he use the
Yeah, he calls her
Jen.
Ike Jen.
term?
And then he's
Shit.
like, "Oh,
Okay.
sorry, I have to get used to that."
Oh no, that's what
Okay,
Shay.
so
When
it's
he
not,
when,
it's not a clan specific thing. It's not
No.
like respect within the clan. It
Oh,
is
Mata,
it's not
yeah.
a no
respect
peak
to
exclusive thing.
Yeah. And I wasn't even thinking it was no peak exclusive, but my
Like clan,
thought
like
was
peer to
maybe it
peer
was
within
like
the clan.
within peer to peer within a clan, but that
Gotcha,
doesn't
brother.
track with that. So
I like that doctor comparison that you're pulling, or like a Dr. Sir kind of a thing. You know, it's very much, I think, in a similar vein.
yeah, Jen is like military rank as opposed to Greenbone, which is a graduate of a like Jade Academy.
It's your undergrad versus your PhD.
Yes, love that.
I'd need more, like, I'd need to look closer to see if I could like parse out an answer.
Keep an eye out.
I will.
Will it bear fruit?
Start parsing these details out. It's one of those things that I find very clever about this storytelling is that there are some things that are directly told to us, but there are others that are just consistent undertones that are meant to be pulled together to understand. There's a good blend of show and tell throughout the story. So
Just like Blue's Clues.
or like any good kindergarten
Sweet
class.
baby Thomas.
All right. sweet little baby Thomas. All right.
You don't remember Steve?
I remember Joe.
We all remember.
I mean, Joe came on after Steve.
I know.
And teaching. Anyway.
I specifically remember Joe.
Sorry.
Because like trauma, you know, like that's the thing.
Yes.
All right. With that, let's get into chapter 28, Deliveries and Secrets. Andon is given a secret task by Lon to be trusted to no one else. After dropping off the package, they have a conversation about school where Andon notes the oddness of Lon's aura before they practice deflection. Lon quickly snaps and apologizes as it becomes clear that something else is going on with him as Andon finds Shine, or SN1, in the white envelope that he delivered.
Tough.
There's a lot in this chapter. I love this chapter so much.
I was just like, oh no.
What my main takeaway from this whole chapter is Lon didn't even try to deny it at all. A great excuse would have been like, yeah, we're researching like the illegal Shine, like ingredients. We're sending it to the lab.
I feel like he had that
He picked it up
perception
from the lab,
yeah,
though.
I feel like
God damn it.
I also feel like he just perceived
Like
that
a meth lab.
Lon was.
Andon Andon could feel that Lon was off
Mm-hmm.
previously. But
Andon
then,
also never mentions to Lon that his aura is fucked.
and it was suspicious like how many times like he requested him to go do it.
Which,
So-
how many times was that?
Why him versus a finger?
Yeah.
It was a couple.
It was a couple
They
times.
had a
Couple.
back and forth.
So like Andon was already suspicious of what the fuck was going on. And so like then he sees it and then Lon comes in and it's all over his face. There's just no I don't
saying
think
like, come on,
I don't
man,
know.
make something up.
Then I think that would have
But
been
is it
worse.
better? Yeah, is it better that would it have been better to have made something up or to have honestly told the truth? We've been talking a lot today about Lon's character, and I think it fits perfectly in with Lon's character here to be like,
Yes.
here's what it is, man. Like,
He's got to own it.
you're my connection to make sure. Yeah.
And that's who he is. He owns everything.
I also want to say, like, why is Lon walking around his house with all this fucking jade on? Like, why can't he just,
Chill out.
like, why doesn't he take breaks? It's like all or nothing.
He is really pushing himself. I think that's just part of
Like, take it off and take a bubble bath, dude.
Yeah. He can't.
Doesn't he say that the sort of cycling of the taking it on and putting it off is fatiguing as well?
Later on,
It seems like
Yeah,
the
when he's
point
at
where
the
he puts it on is the most
whorehouse.
fatiguing part of it. So once it's on, maybe his rationale is that it's better to leave it on than to take it off and put it on again soon.
That is at least by the time we get to him visiting uni, the Comfort House again.
Yeah, and why I like Divine.
Lilac Divine,
Right.
thank you. At that time, that is his rationale, because he says that's why he hasn't been going there as often, because taking off the extra jade and putting it back on was it's a lot.
And we've seen what like the take on and off procedure does to Andon as well. We know him to be a little bit more sensitive, perhaps, versus others, but like we understand that there is some physical sort of detachment that comes with removing that, and there's kind of an ache and other things. So Makes sense.
I also didn't like this whole chapter made me. I just had like this feeling of dread, like when they were doing deflection practice and back and forth, and then like when I was so worried Lon was gonna like blast Andon or something because he just seems so unstable. Like I don't trust him.
I agree. Yeah, this is when that really started to be very, very evident.
And then like yells at him and grabs him and being a dick.
Oh baby, what is you doing?
What is you doing, baby?
Yeah.
And it's like less than a page, right? Like he goes from like, hey, let's do this and we'll do a quick mentoring session. They talk about like throwing things and how Andon's real trouble is with like two things thrown from different directions. So it would need to be two people to like even push him to really be pushing on what he sucks at with deflection. And then that wraps in with this idea with Lon finally like having that break at the end of being like, you can't even push against this, and like shouting at him and denouncing him as even like having potential as a green bone. And then a paragraph later, no more than like a beat of silence or two, turning around and being like, I'm so sorry. I am on edge for a dozen reasons. Did you guys see the Shine thing coming? I do want to go back to some of the other stuff inside of this chapter, but did you guys see that coming at all?
Not me.
Not me.
I mean, I remembered the very pointed, like, bit of information when they first introduced Shine about how in certain situations it was controversial, but when a greenbone is sick or otherwise like not able to fully rationalize their jade, that it could be a legitimate use of it in the eyes of the greenbones sometimes. So I felt like this was coming.
Did you expect it to be Lon, though? Would maybe be the counter pitch?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he was the one experiencing jade sickness, and I'm not convinced that's what this is still.
It's poison.
But yeah, this jade's fucked. This jade is super fucked. As soon as he was exhibiting like some sort of sickness from the jade, I'm like, all right, he's gonna start using Shine or SN1 or whatever.
Both.
Because of that caveat that was introduced early on when they first introduced it.
Perceptive
Aaron, I
lad.
felt like you had something to say there on the bit, on the whole.
Oh, I'm just going back to when Lon is like, I don't believe that crap. Like, jade can't be poison. It's like, how do you know? Like, what if it's a new thing? Like, Shine's a new thing, you know? He's just so sure that it can't be like haunted by Greenbone's past.
Yeah, it was that like I think it was referred to as a wives' tale, if I remember correctly, or something very similar of it being like an old tale of this being even a possibility.
I don't know if this would be my first asking for a bet or just me asking for rampant speculation, because I don't know if it's bettable.
Fucking bet.
I don't know if it's bettable. We'll see
bettable.
with the betting house later. I would like, because Ben, are you insistent that it's poison jade still?
I agree, it's poison jade.
I would like to know by what mechanism you three believe the jade to be poisoned, or how it would be possible to poison jade.
Gold, I think, is a part of it.
That would be
because
number one
of the
on my
wives'
power
tale,
ranking.
because of the saying. Those sayings come from somewhere. Like, they don't come from nothing usually. So, but regardless of what the mechanism is, I believe that was it Gone? What was the name of the
Gom.
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 Pac-Man.
I believe that he would have been able to take Lon in a fight, but this was a sacrifice very intentionally, and all of his jade was replaced with poison jade. He wasn't acting at peak. He was taken down by Lon. Lon took this poison jade. I think it was a literal poison pill
Mm-hmm.
by the mountain.
I fully agree with that, but in order to not put 2 eggs in one basket, I'm going to say that
I knew that this was going to fucking happen eventually. I just didn't expect it to happen so soon. You know?
what? The betting?
Yeah, right.
That we're going to wisen up.
Let's diversify our bets so that no matter what, Crossland and Thomas have to drink every time.
I was actually going to bring that up.
I'm willing
at
to
the beginning.
sacrifice. I volunteer as tribute to be the sacrificial lamb on the off chance I'm right. But because the mountain has circumvented the mining operations, like maybe they found
some bad jade.
Man.
I like the
creativity there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Someone had to do it.
Hey, Cross, are you typing that? I'm not Ben.
I am. Yep. No, I know.
Thank you.
I was copy pasting.
Thank you.
Yep.
As far as the bets go, for Cross and Thomas versus us, I think if the majority of the 3 of us, like if 2 out of the 3 of us have it right, that's when you drink. I don't think it's an all or nothing.
Whatever.
Like I don't think it's like
PJ.
I think it's got to be for the rogue right answer. I'm not gonna lie. But what I would like to add is a force multiplier.
PJ, whose side are you
love a
on?
force
We
multiplier.
discussed that. So if the 3 of you,
I'm on the side of like fairness and like
fuck these guys.
Yeah, fuck these going down.
the
But a
3
force
of you
multiplier.
are in agreement,
I will
100%
accept.
lockstep and wrong, there's a punishment. There's an additional tax.
Punish her.
You take 2, or something. Take 3.
I think it's a
If
shot.
all 3
I
of
think
you are
it's a
wrong,
shot. Yeah,
or
if all 3 of you are.
we generally do like 7s a shot in our game, but okay.
Well, so I'm thinking like there's 1 or 2 that like all 3 of you said the same thing, and if one of those is wrong, in that instance only, it'd be like a penalty. Anyway, Ben, what is your read on the poison jade situation?
Make up a new one.
I'll take like chemically poisoned. They've got an opposite of shine,
Like a
type
chemical
situation.
reaction.
They've developed the negative shine and injected it into their jade.
Rubbed it. Soaked it.
anti-shine.
Anti-shine.
So
That's what I was looking for.
dull. Yeah, that would be what it was. So, for clarification for anyone listening, we have Aaron's, of which is found bad jade in the mine, but otherwise similar to PJ's. You Ben, of whom is claiming chemically poisoned it, kind of the opposite of shine, developed a negative shine and injected it into the jade itself. So still the jade being the primary problem there, that it was poisoned in some way. And then gold is a part of it for PJ. The sayings don't come from nothing. And that Gom intentionally sacrificed himself as a poison pill for the mountain.
I think we all 3 agree on that last part.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was that was all set up by Aitmata. She's
Gom
crafty.
is the poison
All right.
pill.
Crafty.
Got it.
Crafty.
Cool. Down with that. I think that that's a great bet. I think that that was a bet from the moment that the mouths started opening and flapping. So I know that we've talked quite a bit about Lon at this point. So I do want to bring it back maybe a little bit and talk about like the whole family and now having a full impression of each of these siblings from Andon's perspective and the way that Andon views them all. We don't get Shay until a little bit after from perspective wise, but I do find the sibling uncle distinction between Lon, Shay, and Hilo really interesting. Like the fact that Hilo and Shay feel like older brothers or sisters, and then Lon is like this uncle that's extracted from the whole thing. Makes for a very interesting mentorship difference, I think. The way that he takes him seriously, not only as the pillar, but also as like the true elder of the family, since he also didn't have parents. Really.
Well, he
There's
had
also
fucked up parents.
She's
Yeah.
greater parents.
there's also
She's greater mom. But
a twist on that where Hilo thinks of Andon as a brother. Not quite sure where Shay's feeling. That chapter is very delightfully awkward. And then Andon says cousins. They were true cousins to Andon. Lon's the uncle. So there's just like all these unique family dynamics within the found family almost.
And it's not just familial, like Lon's older and, as we find out later, chose to adopt Andon, but he's also the fucking pillar.
Yeah, just their relationship is much more formal. It's not, they're definitely not on the same level. And it's very clear that they just interact differently. Like Andon's got a much different relationship with Hilo, where it's like they can talk more on a level of equals. Not necessarily like Andon's like looking up to him, but they're on kind of the same level playing field. But with Lon, it's like there's a sense of like he's removed from that. And I think then that makes their kind of interactions more formal, more awkward.
And I think even though they brought him in as a kid, Andon has grown up with like imposter syndrome. Like he is from a cursed family. He's homosexual. Like he has all these like burdens, and he's not actually a call. Even though they like say like you'll always be a call, it's like, well, he never felt
was,
like one. Even though they like welcomed him with open arms.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I do want to move to the actual practice itself. What do you guys think of the demonstration of deflection and how kind of reaching that is as an idea?
That seems dangerous.
Flinging shit around.
Yeah, it seems like it could get out of control pretty quickly.
So I loved the actual mechanical explanation of it, to no surprise. But I mean, it's very clear that like this is here to usher in this depiction of Lon going a little bit nuts and a little bit out of his mind because of the jade that he's wearing. But I'm never going to be like upset about more technical.
Oh no, it's not about. I'm not pointing at being upset. I was just like, you're starting to get some of those rules.
That was, I guess, more hyperbole than anything. Like I'm always going to be excited about the depictions of the mechanics of the magic system that we're working within.
It's also like performing under like a ton of pressure. Like not only is it like you weren't expecting to be doing any of this, he already like had a hard practice earlier in the day and he's like exhausted. And then
I do think he was making up some excuses. Yeah.
But now Lon's being like weird and making him more nervous, you know.
I don't know.
You think Andon was making excuses?
Yeah, he was just
like when his deflection went
I was
wide.
like, stop being a teenager and like buckle up a little bit, you know, like
own your shit.
I think he was trying. I think he was just not doing well.
He was about to graduate. That's like where Lon blew up, but
at
the same time, like he was making a pretty good point. Like you're graduating into a war. Like get your shit together.
That's so tough. That's such a tough point to make because like that's what he's shouting at him, and it is simultaneously very real and not at all the Lon that we know.
Right.
Like it feels like Dew is speaking through Lon in that moment, and sort of that drama coming to roost.
You think I'm being mean to Shay? You're being mean to Andon.
Well,
he's just a little baby.
I think he was being a little baby in that section.
Give him a break. Lon was being creepy and had a weird aura.
I do, yeah.
So,
I think that
true.
That's like the biggest part of it and why he felt uncomfortable. So I'll give him a pass on it. But at the same time, like, I don't know. You got to be a little tougher.
He's also a couple months away from being a full-fledged greenbone. Like he has this sort of training.
Knock over some freaking sand bottles, man.
Well, not every greenbone is like amazing. Like the calls, like, you know, I don't know.
Aaron,
of course
next time Ben has a killer workout, what I need you to do is follow him to his apartment and then just like air horn. Be like, we're running laps, buddy, and make him run 2 miles and then time it. Be like, what's going on? What, you're pretty slow,
why are
my
you
dude.
such a weak little bitch?
I'm
Ben?
not trying to be a greenbone, you know?
Why not?
I'm just saying.
You're part of the Words and Whiskey clan, okay? Like, this is a group.
Let's do it. Drop and give me 20.
I don't know. As someone who like played a ton of sports growing up and was submitted to a lot of shit like this, like to me, that's where it came across, where it's like, okay, in those moments you do have to just freaking toughen up and like get yourself through it. I don't know. And like,
but if it's a private coaching session with your brother or uncle, you know, like
and they're
that's
being creepy and
uncle.
Well, yes, and that's what I'm saying. I agree.
They're being weird.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt since Uncle Lon was being a weirdo, but I would have liked to see him respond a little differently.
Vibes are bad, man.
Like,
how many familial characters does Lon encompass for Andon? Uncle, brother, dad?
Uncle, brother,
I don't think dad.
Yeah,
I think
Coulson's maybe dad, but
is he?
Okay.
I don't think Andon has a dad. His dad died. No, I think I think Lon is more like, you know, sure, uncle, but Pillar is one of the first ones. And I don't think Andon sees Lon as a brother.
Wait, so
I
if
think
Coulson
uncle or brother would be a huge
is the dad stand-in, that makes him Lon's uncle.
Can I
right
cousin?
I think
cousin. It makes him a cousin.
The best
you're close
way to address this would be to say
dad, you're right. Never mind, you're right. Anyway, Thomas.
I don't think anyone's saying Coulson is the dad for Andon.
Right.
Andon just has daddy issues. I think that's what
his dad fucking died and his mom
I think his dad fucked off. I don't think
cheese grated herself.
Did his dad die? Or I think he just fucked off.
Details, I don't recall. You know?
At this juncture.
I don't remember.
He's dead in the story. Dead to Andon.
I don't think we know, do we?
Dead or gone, he's out.
I think we only heard about
missing.
His mom.
Yep.
I know so far. I'll bite my tongue just in case.
We've gotten very skimmed details on Father up until this point. We do know that he left, and that's all we know.
Abandonment issues.
Worse.
Is it possible that it's the same? No.
And we know his heritage, his split heritage.
What?
Sorry, that was it.
Right.
I was going to say, is it possible that it's Dew, but it's not? Because Dew died 9 years before that.
And also,
the
split heritage.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's a huge point inside of Andon's mind. So
memory.
I do want to bring up, we've been talking a lot around this, but there's the white envelope, right? That's obviously delivered. And we've talked a little bit about that. But I do want to talk specifically about the part that we've kind of been interrogating on the side here. And I'll read the quote. They're talking about the envelope. If Call Lon, the Pillar of No Peak, needed SN1, what did that mean? Especially for someone like Andon. What hope did he have? His thoughts churned in denial. It's all the new Jade that you're wearing, isn't it? Andon's voice was an agitated whisper. Is there something wrong with it? Is it dangerous because it used to belong to Gom? Lon managed a humorless smile. No. Jade is an amplifier. It doesn't retain energy from its previous owner, no matter what old superstitions will tell you. He turned his face away slightly and his voice fell. I didn't get out of the duel unscathed, Andon. He tapped his chest above his heart. Gom disrupted something when he channeled into me. I haven't been feeling quite right since then. It's made carrying new Jade harder than it should be.
I don't trust that explanation.
I know that you don't believe that, but do we?
I think
I'm
there's
curious
a reason
to interrogate it a
there's
little
a
bit.
reason there's old superstitions. It's because it's fucking real, man.
Right. I think that Lon certainly believes everything that he said there 100%. But we as the reader, that to me kind of was like a siren for me to get my
conspiracy corner hat on.
Exactly. And feel like this is an area.
Corner.
So Ben and I have a similar situation in that anytime something is very explicitly outlined as truth, I cannot believe it.
I have a hard time with that
I'm already
too.
like, I don't trust Woon anymore. Everyone's too cool with Woon Papi Danwa.
Not Woon Papi Danwa.
Exactly. He's gonna betray us. Anyways, that's a bet. I do think that if like I'm 30% like, okay, maybe it's not the Jade at all. Maybe he like Gom knew of he was still a plant and put there in order to fuck with Lon, but he knew a way to like mess up his aura and like break something inside. It's possible.
Maybe shows that danger of channeling, and like a lack of understanding therein, where it's like there's something else. I mean, we get into some of the potential spiritual aspects, I should say, of Jade in the later chapter about the Temple Divine, but
And
Isn't
definitely something
channeling
interesting.
what Andon outlines as his greatest strength of
yes,
the...
in this chapter. Yep. Weakest at deflection, strongest at channeling.
And that's what doctors, the Jade doctors do, right? They channel.
channel. The
Yes.
healers. But Gom put literally his last life energy into that blow and then like was a shell and then got his guts cut open.
Do you think he just like physically did something to Lon to mess him up? Like he messed up a heart valve or something like that? And
No, I
now
think it
it's
was
just
like
been
a jade valve.
Okay.
Jade valve.
Okay.
Do you believe that had he not been injured, I guess you wouldn't because you think. Trying to think how to frame this.
The trap of the show.
So,
Thomas, it's tough.
I don't know if you guys, because you all think it's poisoned. So if it is poisoned, wouldn't it matter? Assuming Lon not injured and the Jade not poisoned, allegedly, would Lon be able to carry the extra Jade?
Say that again. We're Jade.
So-
we're
Just like,
If it
let's
wasn't
assume it's
poison
normal
Jade.
Jade for this conversation.
When he wasn't injured.
And assume he wasn't injured. Do you think Lon would be able to bear the added Jade if it's normal and he was normal?
Yes.
Yeah, what's your perception of Jade levels and tolerances?
I don't know that he
So-
could because he's already like not sleeping. And when we first meet him, he's like, I
That
can't
didn't
tell
seem to
anyone that I'm not sleeping because they'll think I have jade sickness.
Okay, sorry, real quick. Aaron, you pulled on something I wanted to bring up but didn't want to bring up. Do you think that should have anything to do with why he is wearing Jade even in the comfort of his own home? Like why he's not
'Cause he-
taking it on and off?
Because he
Just like
can't
you can't
sleep and
tell him.
stuff.
Well, he can't tell anyone that he can't sleep
Oh.
specifically.
Right. So even
think-
in his own home, he's keeping up appearances.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think,
I was wondering if anyone picked up on that at least.
I still don't understand what I understand. Like he didn't want to take it on and off a lot because it's such a crash on
Mhm.
both sides, but it is still like, I don't know why.
I didn't necessarily read the not sleeping thing as a Jade issue.
Well, he
But I don't know
said,
if that
he
was
even
me
says like,
Just not picking up
I
on
can't
that.
let anyone know because then they'll think I have the jade sickness.
Yeah, it's Sleepless Pillar. It's a very early chapter,
Okay.
of which I'm also renaming my cocktail to the Sleepless Pillar. For the record. That's the new name.
It's a good
But,
name.
So I feel like that's a little bit unclear in that explanation of, does he believe that he has jade sickness and that's why he's not sleeping? Or does he think that the not sleeping is something else,
That's what.
but he's hiding it because it's a telltale sign of jade sickness, which would show him as weak, even though that's not what he's
That's
experiencing?
kind of how I read
Like-
it. Yeah. I read it as like he's got these issues like weighing on his mind, and just as a human being is not sleeping well because of the pressure of his current situation, and that he doesn't want to let people know because then they will think it's jade sickness, but it's not jade sickness. It's because
How would you know them?
he's a weak pillar, you know?
Right. He doesn't have thick blood.
Well, I'm just saying, like, he's like not made for this job, and he doesn't want to admit that.
Maybe he thinks wearing it all the time, even at home, will like thicken up his blood. Like he'll toughen up basically if he keeps it on.
Listen, shine is like a milky liquid, they say, right? Is it cornstarch?
It's like heroin.
Is it just thickening that
cornstarch?
fucking blood?
Oh, no.
It's just cornstarch. That's all it is.
Syrup.
Speaking of shine, in the context of this scenario, when are we going to bring Andon in on federal criminal charges for opening somebody else's mail?
Fucking talk about it. Rude.
How do you know that's a law there?
Ooh.
Do they have a federal government?
Good point.
They have a
What
government.
about drug trafficking? How about that?
There's all
Yeah, I
kinds of
think
problems
he's on
there.
the hook for possession and trafficking at least.
But if the president of the United States told you to pick up a package, you're probably not at fault.
You are. They just hopefully can help you.
There is something interesting there, is that he does feel some like guilt for being like an illegal mule almost, right? Which like feeds into a lot of the anxiety that he feels running out of this whole scene, right? So like, yeah, opening mail fraud, definitely a problem. Being a drug trafficker, definitely a problem. The whole point of Deliveries and Secrets is this idea. But the fact that this is maintained throughout, I think, is an interesting concept as well, where he's like, don't tell anyone, but I'm okay with you knowing. And that explicit like trust and vote of confidence, I think, shows that like maybe he is the uncle, but Lon still trusts Andon implicitly as a member of the family.
I don't know if he does trust him, but he's like really trying
not
to
anymore.
Like give him the impression, and like he's like, I trust you with this, and like he's like trying to give him that piece so that Andon won't say anything because it's his only option. I'm not sure if he actually does trust him to.
I think Lon with all this Jade is starting to trust nobody.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Except for Woon.
Woon Puppy Donma. You can't not trust Woon. I mean,
it's going to bite us in the ass.
Top two, not two.
He's the right-hand man.
You know what? When I read it initially, I always have read it as Lon genuinely trusting Andon in this moment. But what you just brought up, Ben, it brings up vibes almost of like in movies or other media where like a dad cheats on the mom and the son or somebody catches them and they're like, I'm trusting you with this, buddy. Like they do like a fake overacting of the trust because it's like such a diabolical secret.
Yeah, that's kind of how I read it. And it was just like part of the fucked up Jade aura that made him do this. But like he doesn't have a lot of options here, but he's trying to like, he already freaked out. He knows that Andon has now caught him. And so now he's trying to be like, okay, what's Andon's expectation of me in this moment? I've got to be my normal self. And if I was the normal, like, solid Lon, I would let him know that I trust him. And like, and that's just like, he's just going deeper and deeper into a hole here.
Yeah. If he truly did this, if he truly chose Andon because he trusted him, he wouldn't have kept it entirely secret until Andon found out on his own. Like it's totally a backpedal in my mind.
Do we think that Lon knows how sensitive and some of the finer points of Andon's Jade ability, like Hilo does?
It seems to me that he's disconnected from that.
I don't know. He probably gets Lon before now. I feel like Lon was involved in like visiting family members and stuff. I don't know.
I feel like he has too much going on for that. Well, that's like
that feels more like a connection between like what makes Hilo more like a brother and Lon more like an uncle.
I like that read.
Yeah. Or how it like they're just closer in age. They interacted a lot more in their formative years. They're going to be more intimately familiar with each other than the double age difference Lon. Right? That's what it is, right? It's like 9 years between Andon and Hilo, and then another 9 years between Hilo and Lon, I think.
No. Not that much. But there is a difference. I want to say there between Hilo and Lon, it's like a 3 or 4 year difference, or like a 4 or 5 year difference. It's not that far. No shit.
I think it's
Wait,
way
no,
more
he's
because,
10 when Hilo. It is 9. I think you're right. It's 9 and 9.
Yeah, because he was friends with Andon's uncle.
I'm thinking to Do. Right, like Do was 10, or when Lon spent time with Do, he was around 10,
yes.
And Hilo was fresh, and so that gives us a perspective of
right off that.
That's my preferred baby terminology.
Fresh kid.
Ladies, he's
maybe it's fresh. It says
person.
like coming out of the oven, and it's like, well, what bread when it comes out of the oven and you smell it? What's it smell like? It smells fresh. So what's a baby? It's fresh. Anyway,
only if it's
cool.
dressed well.
The
It's
bread
my
or the
whole
baby?
ideology. Both.
Let's go. We're insane. We're unstoppable.
Jenks. I love this. So you're right. It is like almost a 2-decade gap between the two that leads us into this corner. So do want to, I love that we've focused in so much in this chapter and what we've done, but I do want to end it with the quote that I think closes this chapter out brilliantly, which is, the tightness in his chest hadn't gone away even after he stopped running. He wished he could make himself cry to release some pressure, like lifting the top off of a boiling kettle. And I, again, highlighting Fond du Lis's use of imagery. This is, I think, wonderful, especially as Andon chooses when he was biking here to instead like leave the bike. He can't even remember the fact that he biked there, and he chooses to take the bus, and he's just so out of it, and he sprinted, and he's just mentally gone from where he was versus when he arrived. He's lost something in between.
A lot of stress to put on a kid.
Yeah, it's a bad position for him.
And in that chapter, he was saying, like, right when he promised, he like immediately was like, I need to break this promise.
Oh yeah, he's gonna fucking tell somebody immediately.
He kind of tries to tell Shay, but
He does.
he realizes she probably isn't the right person.
And like even Kionla's like minute pressure of like, oh, don't you want to like stay for like food?
He's like,
He
no!
like is almost breaking down in the moment of like he can't even tolerate that confrontation, which is a non-confrontation. But like he can't lie, and it's incapable of it, as it seems.
And it's just like a huge problem, and nothing that Lon said to talk him off the cliff was changing his mind that Lon is not in a good place. His aura is bad, and now he's doing Shine, which is like the ultimate fuck up in Andon's eyes.
Yeah. Hoot dang.
And by the way, crying does make you feel better, gives you endorphins. So
Cry it out.
I hope he can cry it out.
All right. Cool. Chapter 28 sealed.
Chapter 29 time.
I love the
29.
title of this chapter.
You'll probably die.
I knew
This
it was
chapter
immediately going to be about Barrow.
Hey, when the kid's right, he's right. This chapter, we see the mysterious goateed Mountain Greenbone return to the Dirty Two with a mission for Barrow and Cheeky. Should they choose to accept it, they are to use their fully guns to shoot up the Lilac Divine.
Gangster shit.
Real gangster shit. Does this make you think that we got a mole in the No Peak clan?
Well, yeah, knowing like tipping off when Lon's going to be there. You mean that?
Yeah, like it seems like somebody's got the schedule.
I'm sure there's moles on both sides. I don't know.
It doesn't seem like we don't got no moles.
I know. We need to step it up.
True.
This whole like practicing with the guns and then getting your mission, like I feel like this could be like more of a story. Like Barrow's shit's always so short, you know? But like, I don't know. Watching him practice with the gun and stuff, that would have been fun. Like him being like, you know.
Feels like a
I don't know.
montage moment in a movie.
Movie montage.
Me
And then
personally,
his-
I just don't like hanging out with Barrow, so I'm glad for the brevity. Let's keep it moving when this guy shows up.
This
This
sucks.
twisty face boy.
I agree.
Twisty face.
Twist
boy.
scarred man.
And then Cheeky is just a little bitch.
It's just along for the ride.
He's all like, I
More
don't
or
know.
less than Sampa.
Sampa. Yeah, he's a poor fellow.
Poor Sampa.
Here's the
Sampa's a
thing,
sweet
though.
boy.
Yeah.
Sampa, eventually was brave enough to get out.
Exactly.
That's true.
Cheeky's a bitch.
That's true. That's what's up.
That's what's
Um,
fucking Tom's
That's
growing
audiogram.
it in the middle of our show. That's good.
Audiogram.
That's what's up.
Just no context. Just
That's what's up.
I don't.
So
I
then-
know we don't do sound drops on this show, but we need to get a PJ. That's what's up sound drop. I don't know why that's killing me. Oh my god.
So in terms of like the mission, it seems like the mountain just wants the Lilac Divine to be shot up. They're not actually saying to kill anyone. They want Lon's car to get shot. They want Lon to feel like he can't relax or go anywhere. But I didn't see this as what Barrow saw it as a chance to kill Lon. That's not how I saw it. Like, I saw it as them just like fucking with Lon.
Yeah, I don't
you know?
think that they expected like Barrow and Cheeky to machine gun Lon to death.
Yeah.
I agree. But it does seem like there was a specific message being sent to Lon.
Like, you can't
With
even
this.
go see Uni.
Like they wanted his car shot up and they wanted to go when he was there.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I
So
got.
he
from it.
feels like trapped and like
Yeah.
the world's closing in because they know he has poison Jade and he's going to start getting weird and paranoid.
Yeah, they're fucking with him.
Yeah.
So
They want him to
Because
mess
he's-
up.
he's never outlined as a target. That
His
like,
car
it's on
specifically
Bureau
is though, right?
to
Yeah,
like
his car is.
imply that it's a target. Do you think they intended for them to try to kill Lon? Or do you think it was a message being sent to Lon?
Yeah, I think it's a message. It's like they wanted to imply a threat, I feel like. But I don't think that they were not given this mission specifically to like execute a hit on Lon.
No. Like I said,
And there was
Yeah.
no
They're-
expectation that was going to happen.
I think they're pushing Lon into a corner and then they're expecting him to like,
I agree.
fuck up.
Yeah, I like that.
because
Angle.
if he can't handle the Jade and then everyone will be like, oh no.
They're continuing to apply
I don't
pressure.
have
This
a-
is a fucking chessboard.
Yeah.
All of this, and it's just like, fucking rook to e7 or whatever, that type of shit.
Yeah, I think I am totally
Chess
on
player.
board with both of you guys. I think they don't want to kill Lon explicitly because of what we outlined as far as like the poison pill.
Yeah,
Like they want him to be in charge of the mountain or of the No Peak clan
yeah,
Mhm.
in this state.
and it's just
And they want him to be rattled. They
And
want him to be like
destabilized,
on
yeah.
edge.
yeah.
But I don't think I think very explicitly they didn't want Bureau to kill Lon.
I just
Or
don't
they
think
would
that,
have given him that
I
direction.
just don't
didn't
think
think
there's
that was
any
an
expectation
option.
that he could kill
Yeah.
Lon. You
Yeah.
know, like they're
That's fair.
yeah. So like they are saying like shoot up the club, shoot up his car, deliver a message, and so
And then try to get out alive.
he knows that he can be they know where he's at, they know that he can be touched pretty much anywhere, and so that kind of would then start to make him even more paranoid and, like I said, start applying more pressure and hopefully for him to make a mistake at some point.
Is this the first time too that Lon is going there without any bodyguards around?
He doesn't go there with bodyguards
Like before
it's
too.
like the club is the bodyguard
As defined previously,
Yeah.
like he doesn't,
Okay.
yeah, because it's a lantern-men
Yeah.
establishment, so he
and
doesn't
deep
have to.
in no peak territory.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I also, just to append, there's not a whole ton to talk about inside of this chapter. Of course, we've hit a lot of it, but I love the little note that's like spray and pray, right? Like
Yeah.
this is a gaming term that's like point and click and just scribble around on the screen to try to kill something from a gaming perspective. And I just like that idea of like our mysterious greenbone here doesn't trust the guys enough to do more than just miscellaneous damage.
Yeah,
And it's like they're sending them into like certain death, basically. Like spray and pray, like
Yeah.
that club's full of green bones. Good luck getting out of there alive.
Right.
Another interesting thing in this chapter, which is brief, but we get Barrow's sort of origin story with Greenbones and maybe the start of his fascination with Jade.
Breaking the shins.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Only
There's
Barrow
that.
would take that story and be like, yeah, that's
That's
what I
about
want.
me. They broke the shins of my bully. How dare they?
Boy.
Barrow.
And then there's the whole like conversation about like, will this make me cut? And like the lack of promise around this being like a thing that will actually ever be delivered for Barrow.
Yeah.
And that's, you're just being strung along, dude.
Yeah,
Do we
it's
not
like
get
classic,
that? Have you not
like,
caught on?
Drug dealer, addict type stuff.
Can we also say that we were right that Barrow would come back at a very inopportune time and fuck some shit up for us? Remember when we said that?
You said that, but we didn't bet that. So like,
saying we
I mean,
said
I'll take a
that.
drink.
Ooh.
I'll take a drink for you. But
Thank
I
you. Okay. Fair.
I said clairvoyant.
Yeah.
So.
cool.
Clairvoyant.
All right. With that, we'll close out on Barrow's
I get
chapter
it.
this week, and we'll go to chapter 30,
Aaron.
the Temple of Divine Return.
I was trying to.
Shay
That's a little
visits
sensual,
Andon.
Cross.
Go ahead.
There's a little
Hey,
steam
you
on
know
that.
what?
Temple
Sometimes I
of
read.
Divine Return.
What do you mean?
Wow.
Return.
Look at that.
God damn it. Shay visits Andon at the relay ball field and gets food with him afterwards, where they discuss Lon and getting him to chill out maybe just a little bit. After they finish their meal, Shay heads off on her own to the Temple of Divine Return in the Temple District to pray among all of the various faiths. But obviously, she's a deitist, as we know. But I do love this whole entire depiction of sports that we get. We get, of course, naturally a fun thing inside of fantasy worlds is like, what are your sports that you can imagine?
Quidditch.
And this is such a cool reimagination of soccer and handball and like water polo, but on ground, which is
And
fun.
like volleyball,
I like it.
right? I mean, it's kind of
I kind of saw it as
Yeah,
volleyball.
yeah. Volleyball,
Yeah.
water polo.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple of different things that
We
are
don't
like
have
playing
that
together
here,
here that
Cross.
I really like. Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah, we did talk about that already. But I do love the whole like sports chant thing, and we should definitely talk about that. But I particularly love the character note on Relay Ball that Shay notes about Andon, which he treats it like a duty, not a game.
And Cross, that's such a great note because it's so emblematic of how I interpreted how he just kind of lives his life.
he has a hard time having fun.
He's a sad boy.
It's brutal.
He's just like
He's my Ephraim, you know?
he just has a hard time like enjoying anything.
He needs the Zoloft.
Even the idea of love.
Yeah, it's just poor Andy.
Tug the ear twice for... No, don't actually. That's actually a shitty practice. Don't do that. Yeah, never mind.
Cut. Shitty practice.
Cut. No, we're fine. God damn.
Cut.
Aaron with the
Shitty
funny
practice.
Cut, pro homo.
Cancel Cross.
No. That's what I meant.
It's
Anti-Stone
double
Eye
bad luck.
Pro. Yeah. Twice unlucky. God damn it.
Relay ball. And I mean, it's
Relay
like
ball. And Andon.
he's good. It's like he's really good at school. He's like the best in the class at
And
being
really
a
good at
green
relay
bone.
ball.
And then he's also like the most athletic, and everyone in the audience is like, Hilo can't wait for him to graduate, So
Live it up a little bit, man.
well, he's like the like it's like the jock that doesn't want to be the jock.
he's just such a
He's Chad,
Eeyore.
he's Chad
I mean,
Michael
Yeah.
Murray in another Cinderella, or in a Cinderella story. He's Chad Michael Murray. That's what's going on.
I know I've seen that, but I do not remember.
Maybe I
Cut.
shouldn't have been as surprised as I was, but I was kind of surprised by how public the knowledge of his mom was. Where like the random bystander refers to her as refers to him as the Mad Witch's daughter or Mad Witch's son. I didn't
It's
realize.
a small island.
Yeah, It's a small island, and it's a very prominent family on that small island. So, like I said, like I shouldn't have been as surprised as I was, but it recontextualized how important he and his family was on top of the calls in general.
I want to ask too, is relay ball not like volunteer? Like he has to play it?
I think he joined the school team. I feel like he joined up.
It's like most sport, at least in our world.
Yeah, people do it to have fun because they enjoy it.
And like for community
I don't know.
and
People
stuff.
do that in high school, and you play sports you don't want to.
I mean, if Shay's read is correct, he could have been like, I'm going to be good at this, so I have to do it.
It's a duty.
Yeah.
Again.
Duty.
Duty.
I don't
Plus,
even
it's
like
another chance to interact with crushes. Like it's a whole thing. Like, what can we pin or like not give to Andon at this point? Like, he's just a guy doing dude things, and we're in Shay's perspective for all of this, and the chant and cheer for long lost cousin Andon, of whom she describes as filled out a lot since she last saw him as like a full greenbone man.
Kid is strong.
Built.
Hulk
That
out,
was
Andon.
interesting. Because I pictured him kind of like
I pictured him tall and
a little
scrawny.
lanky.
Yeah,
a little lanky.
Yeah.
And then
that's my view of him as well.
he kind of fucking shredded up, apparently.
Or maybe he was like a baby horse and now he's like looking
Grown
more
into his body a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I've been wanting to ask this question actually for weeks, but I feel like we finally hit a point as it accumulates as we get the comparison of even sports between countries. But I want your guys' opinions or thoughts on the countries on the whole. So far, we've got Igutan, Espenia, and Kekon as our like three. But what do you guys think of the cultures there, given the impressions that we have? Mostly from Shay, but also from other people. What do we read? Maybe analogous comparisons to. What do you think of our three countries as they were?
I mean, I'm definitely getting like the Asian vibes out of Kekon. I'm getting Russia vibes out of Igutan. And
Oh really?
oh yeah, they talked about how they have like millions of people to sacrifice in a war or something like that.
Oh
I mean,
Jesus.
that's a little topical.
A lot of land.
Yeah, a lot of land.
Like it's cold and there's bad food.
Yeah. And then I'm getting, America 100% out of Espenia.
I see, like, especially when Shay talks about the Espenians seeing Kekon as like barbaric and outdated, and like, sure, they have superpowers, but they're savages basically. Like, I see Espenia as like, the big modern city, and then Kekon is like, I don't know, Cuba. Like, it's all the buildings, everything's still in the 50s, and they still drive old Fords, haven't upgraded. I guess I haven't really thought of Igutan. So Russia's that's fun.
Yeah. I'm curious on PJ's thoughts too, but I always get like, I've always got like Espenia is the West to some degree, agreed on the America front, but I always get like a little bit more of a British influence on the top of it, especially in the way that the sports are
white
described
people out
in
of that
particular. Yeah, oh, for sure, white people energy. Yeah, no question. Where does that originate fully from? Somewhere between, most of Western Europe and America, for sure.
Probably Fenway would be my guess of where that comes from.
Fenway.
Those thoughts.
Yeah, PJ, any thoughts on the countries?
There are the very obvious like parallels being drawn, but I love that it's not perfectly one-to-one and it's not tied to a specific time. Like we don't live in 1970s. We don't live in like, I like that it's pulling from different cultures around the world in different time zones while maintaining a technological sort of baseline of this like pre-internet but post, like, I would guess 80s-ish, because like faxes exist and telephones exist. When did faxes become prevalent? Like, I feel like that was 80s.
Are they faxing? Did we know that?
That was last
The
week.
faxing last week.
The equivalent of
Did you?
fax.
Were you here last week?
No.
PJ, technically faxing was invented in 1846.
Come on, PJ.
All right,
Come
when
on,
did it
PJ.
become commonplace.
1924 is when
What?
it became commonplace. Yep.
People
I
faxing
didn't
all
realize it
over
was
the
that old.
place.
Doubt.
All right,
don't
Titanic,
believe it.
sending faxes.
Literally, AT&T Corporation developed for transmitting pictures by electricity instead of
Interesting.
15 photographs. It was really firmly sold to consumers in 1948, just after the war.
Here's the thing.
Wow.
I definitely, yeah.
We didn't act like a company founded by Alexander Graham Bell is trustworthy.
All right, we're
because
not-
We will not.
Hey,
I will not stand.
we
for
already
it.
were talking about the fact that
was it
phones in the
though?
It
background.
sounds like a different
It
podcast.
was
Bell,
So Alexander-
Bell was founded.
Alexander
AT&T
Graham Bell.
bought Bell.
This is
PJ,
a wholly different
just let me
podcast that I
steam
would
out.
love to get into.
We don't need to give.
I would
people all
love to
the
talk
truth.
about this whole thing. But all I'm saying is, even if it's 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s, faxes existed as well as phone calls, colloquially. So, as we know,
I'm getting
Understood.
60s, 70s vibes if I had to place it. In
I get 70s.
Yeah.
I feel firmly grounded in the 70s,
Yeah.
but I
70s
can lean
70s
either
works.
way. Yeah, I can lean either side of that for sure.
Yeah.
I could go 60s. I could go 80s. So.
But I like that it's a little bit ambiguous, and it keeps us rooted in this fantasy world a little bit.
My
It's-
dad said 90s. That was his take. He was like, "This is early 90s." And I was like, "Interesting." Yeah, I
I was
disagree,
there.
but
I was
like,
there
okay.
for the 90s.
I'd be curious from the perspective of like fashion, where fashion becomes an important sort of litmus test in culture, noticeably. Like, I wonder if that's what he's drawing on. Like,
Fashion,
I'm sure
fashion's
that's a
always
thing
been
early
important.
on, but I don't know.
Erin has gone through 4 phases of hair, which I think is also her tolerance for our bullshit at the same time. So I think it's important to recognize, note, and bow in deference. Yeah, that's a great point on fashion.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Cool. All right. Have you ever felt called out? I'm so sorry.
No, you see me.
I did want to ask.
I see you.
Yeah. It's a sad. But, I did want to add, does anyone else have anything else on the relay ball games? Which I think is a bigger question. Because I personally, there's not a whole lot that I could bring to that conversation, but was there anything that you found interesting about the sport in general?
Would you rather play relay
haven't
ball or
talked
Quidditch?
Quidditch, obviously. You fly on a fucking
Quidditch,
broom.
Easy.
That's pretty true.
That would be a
Bad question.
I'm so fucking unbalanced. I'd rather fight somebody one-on-one.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm with PJ. I'd feel tricky on the relay ball field. I would feel useless.
I feel like
on a
there's
Quidditch
more
ball.
violence in a
mentality.
Quidditch game, though. Like, you're
Yeah.
You're
You get
not
bludgeoned.
wrong. You're not wrong.
You get
Mentality.
bludgeoned.
I can't handle being on my feet, let alone being on a broom.
Maybe
flying through
you would
the
be
air.
a graceful, beautiful princess on your broom.
You'd be a great beater, PJ.
PJ would not.
I wouldn't. I'd be a horrifying broom flyer.
You should be a keeper.
They could be a keeper.
No.
Fucking Oliver
Just
Wood
block
is
the
in
goal
body
with your
bag half the time.
body.
You're
They're
better than him.
huge.
Just we'll tape you in one of the goals, and you're better than Oliver Wood.
Just
All due respect.
Duct tape him.
Tape like each
Flex
hand.
seal tape. Yeah. PJ in the middle of a goal. That would actually be the best place for PJ to be. You're right. Cool. All
It
right.
was a pretty interesting game in the way that it was like individual battles
Oh, and
leading up to like the war, I guess. I don't know, like the end result is like a series of individual battles that
It's as though it plays into the clan violence idea
Yeah.
of like it's all about a bunch of individual fights that like contribute to an overall war.
Yeah.
it also is interesting
For
that Shay kind of thinks about Espinia and how they like cheer the whole time, which made me think of soccer like the cauldron
Yes.
where they like are yelling and jumping the whole time, and that's the Espinian way. But they all were just sitting like they.
That was funny.
It's like the audience isn't part of the game; they're just observing. Whereas like the Espinians are more like, you know, the
That's where I draw
I
the
keep
Britain
thinking
comparison
FIFA. That's not what-
explicitly for me.
what's soccer
Yeah.
called?
Football?
No, like the
Football.
organization.
Well, there's
FIFA's the
several,
game, right?
So that's not gonna.
FIFA is the
No,
organization.
Oh, it
FIFA
is?
is
Okay.
an organization. It's not
Sorry.
the,
Yeah,
but it
it's
is
like
the
the-
highest
Okay.
level.
I was
It's
thinking of the
soccer is so many different leagues.
yeah, the jumping and screaming the whole time. So
Premier League probably is what you're thinking of.
I mean,
Right.
okay, thanks. Yeah, I don't know soccer very well, but that's what it made me think of. And then they are more the on KCON, they are more like watching like a show. Like they're not participating at all. They're like waiting till the end and then applauding,
But occasional chance.
stomping their feet. Yeah.
Ha! And like, yeah. Mhm. Right. There is the moment after, of course, that they decide to go out and get the dinner together. And this is an interesting moment because it is a better than the Academy meal. And they both know that and they don't really remark upon it until the end. There's this entire like awkward and interesting social thing that goes on that I definitely want to talk about. But I also want to talk about the fact that Shay raises questions of the spiritual power of Jade inside of the conversation, and like this idea that there's something else potentially there within the world and otherwise. We've got the conversation that we can talk about there, but also I eventually want to land on the spiritual conversation about the power of Jade. What'd you make of we'll start with Andon and Shay's conversation at the barbecue.
So awkward.
dude, I listened to it like 4 times. I've read this book twice. I still was just like, I can't.
Cringe.
I don't want to read this right now. This is so uncomfortable.
No.
It was tough.
Every time.
It wasn't that cringe to me.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah, I loved it personally.
No,
I
and,
love
and
it.
I like that they're like comfortably silent together. It's like we don't have
They
any.
weren't though.
No, they say like
pointedly weren't. I feel like
They were not comfortably silent
No,
together.
it-
They were both like, we should be talking more, but we don't have anything to talk about because this is weird.
I mean, I like hanging out with someone where it's like you don't have to like talk the whole time. They can just sit there and
That's
eat.
not what's going on though.
That's how I took it.
Oh, well, that's not what they. I mean,
That's
both
not
of them are. That's not how they said that.
That's how I read it.
I'm more similar to Aaron. I'm not 100% on that page, but I'm more similar to Aaron.
Yeah,
in
it
that
wasn't-
moment,
it's
where
like when you're-
it's okay that happens.
We were just
but
talking about this when you're
yeah.
getting your hair cut and you like talk a little bit and then you like stop for a while. It's like nice
I didn't get that vibe at all.
that you don't have to like keep it going.
I felt like then they were both just like, ooh, like I should have something else to say here, and I don't.
yeah, I felt
Mm.
almost like they would, because neither of them would necessarily want to talk. So they, if it was a comfortable silence, they would have been happy, but they were conscious that they should be saying something.
Exactly.
So it was like a desire for
Shay sucks as a social person, though. So like we know
our
that.
best, and neither
you
is
can just
Andy.
say Shay sucks.
And it's not
stop
great
the
either. Yeah.
sentence.
It's tough.
Oh my god, stop it, Aaron.
Ben and I,
I totally agree, Aaron, with you in that like I like when you're comfortable enough and like you're both in the same on the same page of being silent in conversations and just letting the conversation fall to the wayside. But this doesn't, like, this textually tells you that it's not happening like that. Like they're just awkwardly not able to find words for each other.
And it's also
I would say
just-
there are bits that fall into that for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's also the desire for both of them, kind of like they want to connect. Like Andon wants to tell Shay that the situation with Lon, and he's like questioning that in his mind. And Shay's like, I should have a better connection with Andon, but I don't. And why don't I? And so it's like that aspect of it too is playing into it.
Well, I think it would have all gone smoother if all that shit didn't just go down with Lon. Like it would have. There
Right,
wouldn't
yeah, I
have been
think
such a heavy like
Andon
weight,
was
and it was
weird.
very distracted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Shay was kind of like, okay, guess we don't have anything in common. And there was the guilt. Shay went there in the first place because Hilo guilted her into because she hadn't gone and visited him yet.
So with that, we'll close out on the relay ball section of this chapter. And I do want to give at the very least a brief moment of respite inside of our show for the spiritual section of this chapter and the way that Shay then leaves this moment with Andon, this awkward encounter, as it were, and goes into the temple district and then we see almost like a really big opening of not only is there the big deist temple, but there are all of these other religions that are kind of surrounding it and the way that they're respected within the culture and treated very evenly. And then her walking in to the deist temple and remembering the times in which she went to church, as it were, with Kal Sen, raising kids inside of this religion. What do you guys make of the sort of spiritual encounter that Shay has inside of this chapter and the memory therein?
Well, I think we should talk about why is she seeking out a religion from her past? And I think it's because she's feeling unmoored the further she gets into being back in K-Con. And she's trying to go back to meaning and finding she's chasing purpose. So this is where she's looking to religion to see if that's the answer.
She's trying out everything.
She sure is.
No, I think that's a really good read on that situation. I think she's just desperate for some sense of guidance and
meaning and purpose. Yeah. And then I thought the monks were really cool.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that this popped up, but I was like, that's interesting.
What do we think of the fixture of religion, as it were, with deitism and the ideology? And does she actually believe it, even in the moment of the final prayer?
Can you remind me, what are the different religions? What's deitism?
So there's deitism is the mythology that we were given in the first interlude, which is this idea of all the gods and then some of the children being banished to the world and the jade boats falling down and becoming the mountains. And we don't really have solid pictures of the other religions as such at this point. But we have I think it's the Temple of Namura, and there are two others that kind of fall into this idea of there are many religions that are respected within the area. But predominantly the Temple of Divine Return, and even mentioned inside the text is this idea of banishment and return, even though we don't get it defined with capital B and capital R.
So maybe heaven and hell.
Interesting ideas.
Mm.
Maybe. Yeah.
Also, she was
she was banished and then
religion
returned.
Being the explanation of the unknown. I think it'd be foolish to think that anybody in this society, or any greenbones at the very least, wouldn't attribute their jade to something divine. The power of their jade, rather. It is something entirely off the walls, bonkers, does not fall within the physical laws of physics. None of it makes sense, but it's real for them. So clearly it's divine is a very reasonable read to take on it. So I think having that sort of seeing is believing moment built into them from young ages, and then having a religious ideology that backs that up, it's hard to break from that. It's hard to argue that anybody in this society wouldn't believe in that religion because it entirely explains what's going on with the jade that they use every day.
But maybe the other religions might have a different explanation.
That's fair. That's a good point.
And there could be Church of Science or something explaining it less spiritual and more chemical or whatever.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
With a Tom Cruise at the head, a Thomas Cruise, as it were. A Thomas mild pace. Yeah.
But I thought
Thanks for the pity laugh, Ben. Appreciate it.
I saw what you're going for. I liked it.
I didn't, so I changed. I moved on.
Tommy Jog.
Moved on quickly.
Tommy Jog. That's way better.
But I thought now what Shay going through this journey is a good way for Fonda to introduce this aspect of the culture to us. Because like she does have a reason to go seeking. And I thought the monks that sit there for 12 hours and or 48, what was it? And then switch out. That was really interesting in terms of like jade exposure. They're like getting a fuck ton of jade, like overload, and then they're getting none, going back and forth. And it's like, if they can do it, why can't Lon do it, huh? Just saying. Maybe because it's clean.
Yeah. It's there's a lot here that's very interesting. One of the things, this is such a minor note, but when they go into the service itself, you've got Call Sen front and center in the first row, and his wife immediately to his left. To his right, Lon, Hilo, Shay, then Andon once he was adopted, and then their mother. And so there's like this almost centralization as well inside of the own church, and like the way that they worship of the Greenbone folk, which I think is interesting inside the religion, where it's like you are in your own ways the pillars of this faith, which just kind of gets back to that idea of like, what does that mean, especially in relationship to the rest of the Greenbones? And I think you kind of nailed something that's interesting with the monks about this sort of like on-off nature of their exposure, which makes it very interesting for them.
Banishment and return.
Perhaps.
Also, in this chapter, we see cool side of Call Sen, where he like is the mayor of the town basically, and is like shaking hands, kissing babies, like, how's your sick wife? Like remembering all the townspeople, and like being at church was like they're like, you know, parade.
This is so Catholic to me that it is frustrating.
Yeah, read very Godfather to me.
Yeah,
like
right.
Well,
that's why
mother.
I interpret it to why they have that prominent position in the church is because of their importance in the community, and not necessarily strictly speaking. Well, it's hard to separate because
they're like
bones
deacons,
are so
or like, you know,
ingrained.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're more like, I mean, they're basically the equivalent of priesters, it seems like. So I don't know if
of what
deacons would be a fair priesters. You know, like people only go on Christmas and Easter.
I hadn't heard that term.
But well, Greenbones are not. Call Sen's family are not priesters.
Well, they only go to the temple on the important events, is what Shay says. They're nominally religious. So you can't really call them deacons if they're nominally religious.
Yeah, it's like it's not like they're in the front row because they're like the most
front row because
devout.
they're the fucking shit. They're not, but
yeah. It's
not because of this.
You're right. Well, nominally religious in this context is actually a little bit different in my head, because nominally religious, especially if we're considering Eastern culture, is that there's like a whole home prayer cycle that goes on, which is entirely separate from a lot of Western cultures, which are just visiting at whatever the location is and then doing prayer.
Are you referring
for the most part,
sparsely used temple in their own home?
Yes, exactly.
Defined as
so they have this whole prayer room. Exactly. So like my point being is like they. I think this is maybe a Western Eastern mismatch to some degree, where it's like our understanding of which we've all kind of predefined in the Devil's Cut as like a little bit of Christian in various contexts is very different than what nominally religious in the East might mean, which is like our home worship is very different than our outward worship. And that's the way that I read it. It doesn't need to be a universal thing, but I think that for me, in my understanding of Eastern culture and Eastern religion, skipping out a lot of that home worship versus the public worship was maybe what I would define as nominal. But that's a tough. I don't know if there's a right answer here, for the record.
I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. Are you you're saying that they also it's not because they don't go to the public temple that often, it's because they don't use their own temple that they're nominally religious, right?
Yes, exactly. Let's compare this to Christianity.
No, I'm good now. I got it.
Nominal
We can keep
Nominal
moving.
Christianity is showing up for holidays. Nominal this orthodoxy is showing up on the weekends when you need to, let's say twice a month or whatever, but not doing anything at home.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Concur.
But I give a lot of shit about religion and philosophy inside of our show. So like I'm
Philosophy's
I'm
bullshit.
stuck on evaluating this forever. God damn
All
it.
philosophy.
Just because I
Keep it
care
moving.
about
No,
the
it's
idea
not because of you. All
of-
philosophy is bullshit. Let's go. Keep it going.
No. What the fuck does that mean?
We'll have a
I
debate
will-
later.
No.
I just meant we
Do
can
it
talk about it
offline,
later.
my
Debate
ass
later.
hurts.
You debate now.
All philosophy is bullshit. We'll talk about it later. Let's keep it moving.
That's trash. Absolute trash. I hate it.
Chapter 31. Not according to plan. Hilo phones Lan with news that he has found proof of pickup of Doru's betrayal, and the pair enact their plan to capture him. Lan promotes Woon Papidanwa, finds a letter from his ex-wife, and emotionally drained from the evening's events, flees to the comfort of the Lilac Divine. Upon leaving and re-upping on Shine, he is tailed by Barrow and Cheeky, who attack him as Lan experiences side effects of a possible SN1 overdose.
We're finally here.
Mm.
We're finally here. I just to completely derail the like natural flow of conversation, I have to point out something that happened visually, but doesn't come through on audio. As soon as Thomas said Don Poppy or Juan
Woon Papi
Danwa.
Danwa.
Woon Poppy Danwa.
Woon Papi Danwa.
Aaron immediately started dancing, like shoulder dancing.
Woon Papi Danwa.
We
what
love
goes
the
through your
man.
head when that name is said, and what makes you dance about it?
Good name, man.
It is a good name. It's a really good name.
Lon's doing illicit drugs, basically heroin. He's like, it's like injecting into the veins. At first, when I thought of Shine, I thought it was like a pill, and then I was like, oh no, it's like you're gonna have track marks from doing Shine,
Tough one.
and like with the arm,
That's
cut off
way too
blood
druggy of
flow
a behavior. You know.
it's real druggy, and that's something upstanding Lon should be doing.
How about proof of Doru's betrayal? Where you at on that?
Oh yeah.
That's pretty exciting, honestly.
Or it's a fucking setup by the mountain to get
he got
Hilo
called.
not around so that Lon has no protection.
I don't know. It does seem too convenient that we're just like, we suspect Doru, we send Doru on a mission, and then we're like, yep, we got the proof. All of that seems a little too buttoned up.
What do you think the proof is?
Pudding.
What, Thomas?
Pudding.
Pudding. He said pudding is the proof.
What's in there?
It's in the pudding. What is it? Razor blades?
That one, we'll see. It seemed like
Corrupted jade, perhaps. Gold, maybe.
Maybe proof of his like correspondence somehow, or they found like a person who's saying.
I will say when this chapter started and they were like, we got Doru, I really started imagining like a very elaborate confrontation between Lon and Doru that ended with him getting like his head chopped off.
Doru?
Yeah. And I was really looking forward to that. And this
And
whole thing
it did not
ruined
go
it.
that way.
Almost not according to plan.
Definitely not.
Perhaps.
Definitely not according to plan. No, I am suspicious about this proof, quote unquote, and who's pulling the strings.
Also, like, who's calling from, we obviously, Barrow got the call. So, like, this is not a scheduled visit to the Lilac Divine. Like, he's not like on a regular schedule going there.
Right.
And so this is
Just whenever he wants to get his rocks off.
he finds a letter from his ex-wife and he's upset. So he goes to the Lilac Divine. So that like tells you that there's a very close mole
Yes. Yeah.
to
It's
Lon,
the
I
fucking
feel like.
kitchen cook that yelled at Andon.
It's not,
But it's
It's
also
her.
like
Kianla?
Barrow was given the directive to do this one or several days ahead of time.
Well, they said they would
So,
call
like,
him.
The second or fifth day, meaning like when we'll call you and then you go right over.
Yeah.
Because they know
On
that's
Tuesday
what it was.
or Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
they know that Lon will go. They just don't know which day.
Okay. Gotcha.
Given that we learned that visits to the Lilac Divine have been more sporadic than they have in the past, do you read any other possible motivations for the attack on the Lilac Divine, or like anything else, or do you read nothing into it?
Since it seems like they specifically
they call out his car.
Yeah, that makes me feel like they want Lon to be there.
Foxwolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still
Okay.
agree with myself that they want him to feel like he can't go anywhere and he's feeling cornered and he's like trapped rabid animal.
I feel like they almost want him to like make a bad decision and retaliate or something.
Yeah, I mean they
Trying to provoke him.
they're trying to get Lon to look bad.
Yeah.
So, thinking about this more, knowing that it was the second or fifth day, like I wonder if he has a standing appointment that he pays for, regardless of if he goes every Tuesday and Saturday, or Tuesday and Tuesdays, whatever it is, and they just know he's paying for this time anyway. So if he decides to show up, his person is there for him and available. Like,
Well, I think Uni
that's
is
kind of
on.
my like
Uni's on retainer.
rationalization of all this, but
Like Uni's not fucking other dudes. She's on retainer. She's like Lon's whore.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like a certain day though.
Man, all right. I've got a very different perspective on this moment, or on this whole chapter to some degree. How many of you have seen Looper?
I have.
Looper.
Okay.
Perfectly fine.
Looper,
I heard Looper.
my favorite movie. And
I've seen Looper.
I know that that's not actually a, whatever. But I think in this moment, I immediately compare Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character as Lon and the girl that he's seeing as Une. And so I don't think that it's like fully as though she's just held there, but I do think that she has a preference. And so there is a preference to taking these gigs, but not an exclusivity, even though there might be some like clan bias there. I get a very similar vibe from the whole thing.
I would agree.
It's myself, but
And then there is a relationship between them, and she's not like just a whore. She like, shows that she's like pissed at him for like not cuddling and kicking her out, basically. It's like, okay, like it's not like it's all client.
it's not completely
Client
one-sided.
it's also
patron,
implied
you
that
know.
she stands to make more money the longer she stays in the room with him.
Right.
Like it explicitly says that, like she wants to stay the night. Like she wants him to stay the night because she gets paid really handsomely for that.
But I think that might also be Lon's paranoia in the moment, like building into that character POV of like the only reason she wants to be here is because of that. I think I would agree with Aaron, where it's like there's a degree of it's not just about what I'm getting paid. I also enjoy your company. So I think there's a little bit more give and take. But
I guess that's a matter of the perspective that we're inhabiting. Is this strictly like Lon's perspective and Lon's internal like monologue as our like understanding, or is it an omniscient third person?
no, this is entirely third person limited. Like this is scoped in. Yeah. With the exception of the interludes, we're like third person limited for all the show. All the book so far.
Okay.
God damn this chapter though, right? Like we all like love and hate this chapter front to back. It's so good and so bad at the same time. Because man, the trip to the Lilac Divine it's a brutal one.
Fine. Trip's medium.
It's
The trip
all good.
out is brutal.
It's all good. Even the trip out's fine. Lon's like does a cool like lose him in the cab thing. everything's going well until the like kickback
Ducks.
from his deflection.
Well, yeah,
Super lawn.
I was not concerned until the very, yeah.
He's like on the boardwalk near the water. Everything's fine. He stops the bullets, and then the poison jade or the poison shine or whatever the fuck's poison, like, you know,
Kind of fries him, right? That's
Fries
kind of,
him.
yeah. That's, and then
And
he has the,
he's lucky that Barrow's lucky that it happened because he almost got choked out. But he's also lucky that when he, you know, has a seizure, that Barrow runs away instead of like finishing the job
because he's a dummy.
because he's like freaked out.
Yeah.
Lon's like foaming at the mouth. He's like, ah! What's happening?
Did it? Was it Barrow that gets clipped in the arm with the deflection?
I think
Or was
Cheeky
that,
gets totally fucked.
Cheeky?
And then Barrow
gets the
I think
arm.
Barrow, it hits his knee.
It's his arm because he's trying to get the gun into the other arm, I thought.
Yep.
Oh, and Cheeky got his legs. Someone got their legs shot out.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But yeah, this is not cool, and it was not a great time to stop reading.
That was pretty rude.
Pretty
Welcome to my
pretty
world.
rude.
Truly,
Just like an
This is
extra
every fucking like
an extra kick
big
in the nuts.
cliffhanger in Red Rising was this moment. And Cross smirking and saying, "What do you think happened?"
Oh boy. So to that point, what do you think happened? Like what's the end result here? Like what do we read on this whole thing?
I don't think Lon dies.
I don't think he does either,
I
but
don't
I don't think
either.
he's going to come like right back. I think we're going to have a few chapters of chaos.
Yeah, I think we hit every single perspective.
Yeah.
Before, like maybe a couple times
Yeah.
before we get back to Lon.
I think he's going to wash up on shore somewhere. And
Oh, do you think the mountain's gonna get him?
no, I don't know. I think we're in for a set of like 5 or 6 chapters in a row where we're not going to know about Lon.
What if like bystanders and passersby or something on the boardwalk jump in and pull him out?
I feel like I can once again peer into Ben's soul and project what he's thinking. I'm picturing Ben is picturing Lon washes up on the shore of like a quiet little town
Yeah.
where he's rescued by a former, maybe, possibly super attractive former Greenbone. Turns out she was in the Mountain Clan. She nurses him back to health. This love blossoms between them. Everything's going great. He's out of the way, like nothing to
What
worry
is this?
about.
The Ghost of Tsushima?
And then what else is going on? Oh, disastrous news. He can't shirk his responsibilities. He has to go back to the clan. Is that kind of what you had in mind?
Yes. That's kind of where I'm going.
Just a happy side story.
Well, yeah. And I'm also thinking like along the lines of, I don't know, like in Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin, like you get a good Tyrion falls into the river moment and you're like, did Tyrion just die in the middle of this book? And you get a long section of not knowing what happened to him.
Oh, so you
And
think
then
we
he-
just won't know for a while?
And then he comes back. Yeah.
So I love the end of this chapter specifically because I think it does such a great job. Fonda does such a wonderful job of describing the way that like the world dulls when you start to lose oxygen underwater. So to read the final paragraph, the world was dulling. He was crashing out rapidly now, as if his jade was being ripped away from him all at once. He felt frantically for the beads around his neck, the cuffs around his arms. He still had every stone. Get up, he urged himself. Keep going. He heaved himself back up and took a few more steps. Lon had once run lightly on thin beams across the Academy's training grounds, but now he lost his balance and put a foot down too close to the edge of the pier. He pitched over. When he hit the water, it was such an instant cold and silent relief that he didn't struggle when the silence closed around his head.
What do you want from us, kid?
I can't add
them
anything
to
better
say
than
a word.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The sound
Hot damn,
of silence.
Hot damn.
Hot damn.
Hot damn. Yeah. It's an end to a part. Like the next bit is an interlude, as we might know.
No, because I didn't look ahead.
Oh, did you not this time? I actually had that in my own notes.
Yeah.
Like, did Aaron look ahead at the note for the next?
I did not.
Okay, cool.
I'm a good study.
That's interesting. We appreciate you endlessly. So, with that, I think we're in the realm of closing thoughts. Was there anything else that we didn't hit or anything else that you wanted to ask, Thomas, or otherwise, of the group? Any other things that were lingering for us to talk about?
I left feeling like Shay, as much as she has sucked up to this point, this is like, I can see a turning point of self-discovery where I'll be less annoyed with her. I thought Hilo didn't do anything egregious. And then, of course, Lon is the fuck up this week.
I know my power rankings are just of the characters are just all flipped on the
Screwed up every week.
Everything. Like it's all over the place now. I'm like, is Hilo number 1 now?
Right. Like, kind of, yeah.
yeah.
I kind of like Hilo the most right now.
Yeah. I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm a little annoyed with Shay. I'm a little annoyed with Andon and Lon. I'm just like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
We
You're
really messed up this
perfect.
week.
You're perfect little Lon. Sorry, Ben.
Tough for me.
He's like Adam Silver, not a wartime consigliere.
No idea
Sure.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, me neither. PJ, anything that was remaining on your thoughts of the siblings, how we approach this?
No, I feel like we did a pretty great job of covering everything that I wanted to hit on.
Cool.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around like the actual personal views of the relationships between the three siblings and Andon, whether it's a brotherly or cousinly.
Familial.
What sort of familial relationship it like is in their heads, because there's a lot that gets thrown around. Like, is it a sibling? Is it a cousin? Is it an uncle? Is it closer than that? Like whatever it might be. But I feel like we did a pretty good job of tackling most of that. So
I do want to double back a little bit on Aaron's perspective of Shay in particular in this final moment. And I do want to get into that idea of her stepping into two different camps and finally confronting that boundary, it almost seems, by stretching into a faith that she seems to not fully agree with. So she is reaching out to the most distant star to grab onto some semblance of hope to try to figure out which way she should go. So it seems like a trajectory or our projection for her in the future is going to be something. It's going to be a decision.
It has to be.
It has to be, right? That's the only thing I would tag in. Cool. All right. Well, with that, we've settled the bets. We've done everything else. We've closed our thoughts. We are going to go into next week. So next week, we are reading a lot more than we did this week by chapter count. We are reading the second interlude through chapter 41. So 11 chapters in a week. So we're super excited. We'll see you there.
Thank you, all powerful beings, for blessing us with more chapters.
I think
so
the page
many
count is similar
chapters.
throughout, right? We didn't do
It
anything
is.
crazy.
Yeah, we pretty much kept it between 75 and 90.
So we get
as
some
a
short
rule.
chapters.
But
What I'm saying, we're not going to see Lon. Do you think we'll see Lon in these 11 chapters?
I think this is the longest week until Legacy. But
That was rude.
Ben's trying to make a bet.
I
bets.
missed your question. What was it? No. Fire it off.
Ben's
what was
trying
it?
to make a bet.
Do you think we'll see
Lon in these 11 chapters?
I say yes.
Bets.
11 chapters is a lot. I don't
This
wanna
is
make
a.
bet. I'm backing out.
No, you can't back out.
Fine,
This
I'll
is a
do it.
bet
I'm
amongst
only
you
against
three.
Aaron.
Wait.
Just
You three
just
bet yourselves.
No.
We're not.
bet
gonna-
versus me.
You three have to bet on this. Do we see Lon in the next
I'm not involved.
11
No.
chapters?
Oh, PJ.
I don't think so.
He seems confident. I'm with PJ now.
Mm.
I'm weak.
I think
No.
we immediately
No.
see Lon.
Like in the next chapter?
What
After
You're
the-
fucking crazy.
After the interlude.
No. We got to see all the
I'm
chaos
totally gut
first.
feeling this. Like, this is just a total gut feeling. I don't have rationale behind it. Like,
And I don't mean
So
just
we gotta know.
I don't mean just like a Lon perspective chapter. I mean like either his Lon perspective or Barrow or anyone. We like see what is happening next for Lon.
I think that's going to be a mystery
I
for
agree.
a while.
I don't think we know whether or not Lon is alive until after next week. Like, I think we go entirely this next week without knowing whether or not Lon is alive.
Ben, where do you land on that spectrum?
We do not see Lon at all.
No.
And we're
Don't know
not-
his fate.
We don't know his fate. No body, no fate.
I need to change my fate. That's from
Lord Almighty.
that's from
All right,
Brave.
those bets are in at the 11th hour on the episode. So it's so cool. Very excited. As mentioned, next week we will be reading chapters, the second interlude through chapter 41. So literally 11 chapters. But there's some short ones in there. Give us a break. So it'll be fun. So that's where we're going to leave you for this week.
Thank you, Tim and Andrew, as always, for helping us keep the show's lights on. You can check out our links in the show notes where you can find our schedule, our Patreon, our previous episodes, our websites, our social media accounts, and probably more secret things that I can't remember off the top of my head in one very nice, easy, convenient location.
You can find all of the associated shows as well, HowlerPod and High Key Obsessed, inside of the links for each of these, because of course, naturally, our friends are a part of this, and they're a part of the Atomic Pylon Media Network. Of course, we wouldn't not support them. That's the whole bit, right? Like, you guys are here for us, and we're here for you. Well, I mean, like, we haven't agreed on like a contract formally, but like you can get over it, right?
We're
like,
cousins. We're cousins right now.
Okay, fine. So we also want to take a second today to thank our new mixologist, Ivana, for jumping the tiers. We're very excited. And a Chip Jar fan, Caleb. Thank you so much
Love
for
you,
following
Caleb.
on the Patreon. We appreciate you
Ivana.
and all that you contribute to the show. So with that, like PJ mentioned, you can find us Words Whiskey Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. You can find us, you can email us directly, wordsandwhiskeyshow@gmail.com. Check us out, patreon.com/words and whiskey, and our t-shirts at present, and it's nearly dying. We are so close to our final product in the first run. PJ is getting shipped a product this month, I assume, based on our prints, but we're on TeePublic for now. We'll be off it shortly, we swear. But also, where can we find HowlerPod? Where can we find High Key Obsessed?
HowlerPod, HWLARPOD, HowlerPod.com.
Anywhere you want to go.
Google it. Bang it. I don't know. Chat GPT
Smoke
it.
it. Snort it. I don't care.
No.
Inject
Don't
it.
ChatGPT it. No.
If you don't snort HowlerPod, Aaron will haunt your dreams.
It's true. 5-star reviews only.
Well, I had
for
one ready. I was
the shows.
waiting for Thomas to plug.
Thank you politely.
Thomas, plug.
High Tea Obsessed is available wherever you get your podcasts and can be found on Twitter at High Tea O Podcast and on Instagram at High Tea Obsessed. And it's got a weird Twilight Zone logo with a pineapple on it.
And don't forget to rate and review this podcast, Words and Whiskey, 5 stars only. If you don't give us 5 stars only, then we will get cut KK and spray your favorite car full of bullets.
With our fullies.
Oh my god!
All right,
The-
we are
the genuine threats are so much better.
actively threatening gun violence against our listeners if they don't
I've threatened much
fully
worse.
rate us 5 stars.
West,
And
west,
it
west
works.
side.
Super west side. So far west, it seems. Cool.
I support it. All right.
Cool, rad, dope. Thank you all so much for showing up. We'll see you next week talking about this fucking book again. Cheers.
Yay.
Goodbye.